the maternal father of the Pokémon world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 676. I can't afford it. Nothing happened. I'm coming to. The same sound as before came out one after another, and Sonoko immediately covered her mouth in shock. Although this situation is considered a classic in ghost stories, it is indeed very effective. Why? Is it me again? Kurorido, you're not done yet, are you? Amu muttered to himself angrily. Of course, this is not actually something Kurorido did on purpose, but the rule card belongs to the moon water element, and the run card belongs to the sun fire element. Since Eminem's eternal flame awakened and added the fire element, not only all Clo cards can be used, but it is also attractive to all Crow cards. It's just that Eminem is not a Clo card user after all. If he is not with Sakura, the Clo card will still appear near Sakura, and Eminem will not encounter it easily. But if Eminem and Sakura are together, then it's not necessarily clear whether Kuro card will find Sakura or Eminem. It can be said that who the Kuro cards find is determined by their incomplete intelligence, instinctive closeness, or other emotions, and the reason why they always appear near Sakura. It was achieved by Kurorido using curse. Nothing happened. I'm coming to. One after another, the voices came one after another, as if they were urging Eminem. Sonoko on the side couldn't help but ask, what should we do now? Will I run with you later? No, don't worry, since time is real anyway. Then, as Amu said, he released Gungan, RPO, Kijuu, Dali, a small plane, and a horse. Let's train Pokémon now. Although it's a little smaller and can't destroy the surrounding buildings, it saves time. Eminem said that he was too smart. Sonoko, Yuanzi was speechless about this. To put it into perspective, this was a certain primary school student. When he went home, he found that when he passed a certain floor, he could never go up. Even time seemed to have stopped. At this time, the primary school student was immediately overjoyed and immediately took out his homework to write. He also said that he was very lucky today and could have a lot of time to watch TV. Thank you, Kaiten. With one horse, you can practice tail docking just fine, and you don't have to worry about damaging the surroundings. APO, use sword dance. Gungan, you practice rolling first, but don't really hit anything, just roll. Eminem was commanding his Pokémon to conduct skill training, but after a while, several Pokémon automatically bounced back into the Pokéball, and nothing happened. I'm coming to. One after another, the voices of Tomoyo and Sister Zilan sounded again. Eminem didn't worry too much and let everyone out again, although it was a little more troublesome. This was a time house. After repeating this several times, nothing happened. I'm coming to. There was another familiar sound, but the footsteps that followed were not very familiar to Eminem. And the Pokémon weren't bounced back into the Pokéball. Then I saw Sister Zilan catching up from behind. When I saw Eminem releasing all the Pokémon, she asked in confusion, have you encountered Kuro card being naughty again, sister? Zilan has also heard about the Kuro card now, but for a championship level trainer, even if Kurorido climbs out, ZHU Land dares to fight with him. Of course, he won't worry about anything. He doesn't even use the Clo card or the magical girl. Consider it something extraordinary. Yeah. They can't afford to play yet. Eminem said angrily. That's it? Are you feeling distressed at this point? In fact, it's no wonder. After all, the reason why they can move independently now is essentially relying on the magic power left on them by Kurorido, as well as some of the power they have accumulated independently over the years of being sealed. Eminem directly uses the infinite rollback created by them as a time house. How can he stand this? Yuanzi on the side laughed endlessly, and Sister Zilan looked at Eminem's reaction and didn't understand what happened for a moment. But at this moment, there was a sudden exclamation from Tomoyo in front of him. When the three of them heard the sound, they immediately hurried forward a few steps, only to see Tomoyo at the door on the third floor, alone and at a loss. What's wrong? Huh? Where's Sakura? Amu asked in confusion. Sakura. She just turned the corner and disappeared. Tomoyo quickly asked Amu for help. It seems that Lunpei and Rupei have learned to stop looking for him after being ripped off by Amu and instead looked for Sakura and even found a moment when they were alone. Don't worry. Although this Kuro card seems to be very magical, it is not very dangerous. Eminem said at this time. In terms of thrills, whether it was the flower card that almost caused a large-scale accident, or the power card and sword card that caused a fight among the wild Pokémon groups after being possessed, they were all more thrilling than this time. At the same time, Eminem said, fire jumped in his eyes. He looked behind him, and there was a shadow. Eminem saw that the space behind seemed to be folded, and at this time, a translucent phantom of Sakura could be seen. Going back and forth, Eminem once activated spiritual vision under the pressure of Nazi, but later it was difficult to activate spiritual vision on his own without pressure. Just not long ago, after Eminem awakened spiritual fire, this ability of spiritual vision became able to be stimulated with spiritual fire. Sakura is also working hard. We can wait. Eminem reminded. Toya had previously reminded Eminem not to help Sakura too much, otherwise Sakura might not be able to complete it when a bigger test comes. This is why, after Toya felt that the two cards were combined this time, he came to take a look at it uneasily, but he didn't take any action at all. There were also other tourists passing by Eminem and others at this time, but they only looked at these people with a little doubt. Not knowing what they were doing on the stairs soon after, Eminem saw that Sakura's body became more solid and began to appear in the surface space, so he said to the nervous Tomoyo, it's coming out. Return to your original appearance. With the ending of the call, Sakura, who was still waving the sealing staff in her hand, reappeared, and two cards fell down at the same time. While Tomoyo breathed a sigh of relief, some tourists from behind looked over with curious eyes. At the same time, when they passed by Sakura, they couldn't help but avoid it. Seeing this, Sakura's face immediately turned red. She quickly cleared her throat and put away the sealing staff, as if she wasn't the one who was yelling. Chapter 677 Meet. Through her own efforts, Sakura successfully conquered the Rule card and Run card. After visiting the modern replica of the Bell Tower, Eminem and his party ate at a nearby restaurant and then finally went to a dessert shop, thus completing today's tour. Sister Zilan's schedule in Yuanzu has also ended, and she left by plane that night. As a champion, it's hard to say whether she is busy or not, but in short, time is very precious. On the following 17th, Eminem trained honestly at the Battle Club. Sonoko had booked a flight to Rainbow City in the Kanto region on the 20th, and there were only a few days left. On the evening of the 17th, in the restaurant of the Pokémon Center, Sonoko made a rare appointment with Amu to go to the Battle Club tomorrow. Hey, are you going to the Battle Club too? Amu looked at Yuanzi in surprise. Tomoyo on the side suddenly sharpened his eyes. Sonoko, are you going to train? Really? Hey, what's your tone? But it's true that it's not me who is going, but Xiaolin. I'm just accompanying her. Yuanzi rolled her eyes at Eminem and said, Xiaolin? Amu said and looked at Xiaolin again, because there will be a karate competition for high school students in the next year. I also want to train systematically. Seeing Eminem looking over, Xiaolin nodded and said, for karate, isn't there a special training ground? I remember Xiaolanqi went there. Eminem remembered that there was a professional karate training ground in Yuanzu City. After all, humans also have to participate in karate competitions, and Pokémon must be fighting type and humanoid. Once a Pokémon versus human battle occurs, skills cannot be used, even if it is Pokémon versus human. Pokémon also has restrictions on the types of skills that can be used. It is different from ordinary Pokémon battle rules, and of course the training methods are also different. Usually there are corresponding professional equipment in some fighting gyms, or specialized karate training grounds. Eminem knows that Yuansu also has a very professional one, and Xiaolan went there 2 days ago. Yuansu's battle club has a new simulation game training device. I think it should be used. Xiaolan explained at this time. Yuanzi also added, and when Xiaolan went to the karate training ground yesterday, she encountered a sabotage incident. Although the culprit was caught, many of the equipment in the training ground were damaged, and the business will be temporarily closed for a few days. Slim Shady, Eminem really wants to say, then how about you go to the playing club on the 19th, the day after tomorrow? You go tomorrow. I'm afraid I won't have anywhere to go on the 19th. By the way, then Conan might as well stay and let ZioAI play with him. Eminem thought of a good idea. The East George clan should really thank Eminem, but Conan shivered at this moment. In order to test Conan's megastone in the past 2 days, ZioAI has tormented him a lot. Although it has not been completely handed over to him yet, there are already 3 keystones on Eminem's mega bracelet. In addition to the normal keystone exposed outside, there is also an artificial keystone linked to BUI, and the exclusive keystone linked to the Conan Megastone. Of course, this exclusive keystone means exclusively for the anti-AP 9527 radiation device, and is not exclusive to Eminem or Conan. ZioAI also has exclusive keystone, and even ZioAI Megastone. However, in ZioAI's words, the product is still unstable, and she will never use it easily. If Conan is willing to use it, he can just serve as a test product. ZioAI has been too busy recently. I'd better go to karate training with Sister Xiaolan, Conan said quickly. It seems that the Yuansu Battle Club is deemed. Okay, then let's go to 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Eminem asked Xiaolan. Yeah. Yuanzi on the side said that the time was just right, and obviously she would go to. However, before morning came the next day, Eminem was awakened by spirituality first. This time, before Tomoyo could knock on the door, Amu opened the door first, and Tomoyo was stunned when he saw this. Tomoyo was also puzzled. Could it be that he had been looking at the cat's eyes? In the past, Eminem would always wake up when Tomoyo was about to knock on the door, but by the time he got to the door, Tomoyo would have already knocked on the door. So before, Tomoyo just thought that Eminem got used to getting up and started talking. Unexpectedly, Eminem opened the door before he even knocked. I just said I can feel it, right? Go to your room. Amu also realized at this time, but Tomoyo didn't knock on the door. Tomoyo was stunned for a moment and then nodded. Eminem didn't think too deeply about why there was such a long gap between Tomoyo's decision to knock on the door and to knock on the door, but Tomoyo himself was still thinking about it and even blushed because of it, because he had already turned around and left. So Eminem didn't see it either. It wasn't until Tomoyo returned to the room that Sakura was surprised and said, Tomoyo, your face is so red. Could it be that you have a cold? Sakura said and came up to put some stickers on her. However, Tomoyo quickly denied it. Soon after, Eminem was dressed and came to Tomoyo and Sakura's room. How was it? What did you dream about this time? Eminem asked Sakura. This time, there was no confusion or hesitation on Sakura's face, but she said urgently, super urgent. I saw someone beat someone to death. Another life. Or killed. Amu was stunned when he heard this. That's right. She's wearing karate clothes, as if in a competition. At least in the ring. Sakura said confidently. Karate? Eminem noticed. Tomoyo on the side looked away without speaking, completely uninvolved. Yes, this is a reason why Tomoyo hesitated before. Last night, Yuanzi was going to accompany Xiaolan to the Battle Club of Ensu Gym to practice karate. Here, Xiaoying saw someone killing someone with karate. Those who didn't know thought again was their fault. Therefore, Chise is very hesitant. Now Tomoyo also looked like he didn't hear what Sakura said, and his face said I have nothing to do with Rainpoint, but Eminem himself came to the conclusion. As for karate, the trainer of Yuan's whose largest karate gym was paralyzed by Conan a few days ago and has not resumed operations yet. Yuan's whose battle club can also be used as a training ground, and there seems to be something new recently. More importantly, they all said, beat people to death. How can this have anything to do with Conan? No, we can't say it was Conan who did it. Sakura kindly helped Conan's little brother. What kind of arena is it? Did you see the victim and the murderer clearly? What Pokémon are there? Eminem further confirmed point at this time. Sakura said with some embarrassment. I must have lost my memory. I seem to have seen the ring, and I seem to have seen people wearing karate robes. It seemed that they were beaten to death on the ring, and it seemed that he was dead in his seat, but he still seemed to be wearing a motorcycle helmet. Sakura's tone was uncertain, and her words were really messy. Chapter 678 Special Training Ground. Regarding what Pokémon attacked, Sakura was also confused. One moment she said she saw several fighting type Pokémon, and the next she said she didn't see Pokémon versus humans. As for the more important thing, what exactly is the Kuro card involved? It is even more unclear. Zyuke also said on the side at this time, if he was beaten to death in the ring. Now that the power card and sword card have been taken back, the only one who is close is the Dao card, but Dappe won't be so ruthless and will only take the opponent's life. At this point, Zyuke was also confused. Sakura thought about it more seriously at this time. Sakura was already very sorry that she failed to stop the case when the Toki card appeared last time, although that case had nothing to do with the cloak card. Unfortunately, the dream that Sakura recalled at this time was still chaotic. Okay, it's a dream after all, and it's normal to have confused memory. Eminem comforted Sakura when she saw her looking confused and guilty. It's a pity that Eminem is not the dreamer path and does not have the ability to be a hypnotist. Otherwise, he could consider helping Sakura recover her memory or even directly enter her dream to find out. Then, get ready. Let's set off together at 8 o'clock. Eminem felt that Sakura's prophetic dream would most likely fall on the battle club. Yeah. Sakura nodded vigorously, but Tomoyo still looked like he didn't hear anything. This is what you insisted on taking me to when they were about to set off early in the morning. Sonoko looked at Tomoyo and Sakura in surprise. You are going to train too? Sonoko looked at Tomoyo questioningly. But Tomoyo just said, Sakura happened to have a dream that something happened in a karate ring, so I went to take a look. Just right? Yuanzi wrinkled his nose when he heard this, but didn't say much. Something happened? Conan suddenly became concerned after hearing this. Since Tomoyo was going there was naturally a Daidaiji group car parked outside early in the morning, and it was a business car, so there was no need to worry about not being able to get a seat. Sister Sakura. When Conan was in the car, he took the opportunity to ask Sakura about the predictive dream. During the Celebi Colossus incident before, Conan also roughly understood the effect of Sakura's precognition dream. But Sakura thinks this is too bloody. Although there seems to be no blood, it is still beaten to death and cannot be described to children. As a result, Conan had to ask Eminem again and got some second-hand information. After arriving at the battle club, Zyuke went to the front desk first to confirm the new equipment and was told that it was on the 4th floor. Then Eminem and Zyuke came to the 4th floor first. For this reason, Eminem also bought a ticket for the karate training ground, which was not among Eminem's membership point. After arriving on the 4th floor, Eminem found that it was noisy and completely different from other training rooms. It had its own independent space, very different from what Eminem imagined, and Eminem didn't see anything similar to a ring, but instead there were some sleep cabin-like devices everywhere. Oh, there is still a ring, and on the big screen in the center, a ring is displayed. It looks like a standard karate ring, but it is empty now. And the trainers here are not sweating and training Pokémon as Eminem imagined. Instead, they are sitting in sleep cabins one by one, with hoods on their heads. This is Eminem looked strange at this time. It was a bit different from the big gym he imagined with all kinds of exercise equipment. Here. Zio Sakura suddenly realized at this moment, this should be what she saw, right? Because I confused the virtual and real parts, that's why it was so confusing. However, Sonoko didn't know what Sakura was exclaiming at this time, and just explained, "You don't know yet? This is the latest virtual training ground. Not only can it simulate human battles, but it can also allow humans to use treasures Camu's body comes to fight. Use Pokemon's body?" Eminem bit out these words. Of course it's not true. You can control the simulated Pokemon's body with your mind. But now there are only a few Pokemon that are similar to human body types to choose from. Sonoko further explained at this time point. After hearing this, Eminem nodded clearly. This world is already very advanced in terms of information technology. Just this level of simulation is far worse than the simulation of Noah's Ark. It is not surprising that it is already used by civilians. This technology is really popular, Eminem said while looking at the lively training ground. Hearing this, Xiaolan also said with some embarrassment, "Actually, there are many people who simply use this place as a gaming place to join in the fun. Of course, as long as the difficulty is increased, there will be a training effect, especially the simulated Pokemon battle. When you do this, you will understand Pokemon better." 4. Fighting type trainers. Knowing their Pokemon better also has another meaning. Teaching Pokemon to fight in a karate way. At this moment, Eminem looked at Sakura. Sure enough, she seemed to have thought of something. She looked around, saw Eminem looking at her, and said quickly, "Here. This should be what I dreamed about." I see. Amu looked at the screen, then at the various sleeping cabins. No, it should be said to be training cabins. He somewhat understood why Sakura's dreams were so chaotic. "Can you tell where it is?" Amu asked further. Hearing this, Sakura looked around, but still shook her head. She didn't know where she died. Xiaolan, Yuanzi, you are here too. At this moment, a female voice with a slight accent came over. Eminem looked back following the voice, and found that she was a young woman with short blonde hair and glasses. Of course, young is relative. Compared with Eminem and others, she was older. "Teacher Judy, why are you here too?" Yuanzi asked in surprise. Even though it was an online class, she still knew Teacher Judy. Hahaha, this place is really great. I really like simulated battles, Judy said very grandly, without any airs of a teacher at this time. Xiaolan and Yuanzi also introduced Eminem and others. Judy is a teacher at Tedden High School, Kanto main campus, who is responsible for teaching the general education course on Pokemon in the Unova region. And judging from her appearance and accent, you can tell that she is a run-over person. Eminem observed carefully at this time, and saw that this teacher Judy was indeed a bit slutty. Of course, because Junsha in the Hezhang area is already far away from the Xianguan continent, and the difference in appearance is also greater. In addition, the Junsha appearance of teacher Judy is not obvious. With the power of Junsha on the other hand, her qualifications are not very good, so if they don't know her identity and observe her specially, ordinary people may not be able to tell. Chapter 679 Display Stand. Eminem doesn't know much about the main plot of Conan, especially the later parts. However, as everyone knows, Teacher Judy is the FBI. In this world, the corresponding counterpart should be the Pokémon investigator, a special Junsha who is directly affiliated with the Junsha clan headquarters and specializes in investigating violent groups and secret organizations in various places. This position is very important, and because of its special nature, the proportion of real Junsha clan among Pokémon investigators is actually lower than that of Junsha departments everywhere. The reason is very simple, because they often have to act in secret, so the real members of the Junsha clan, unless they inherit Junsha, have little power, and have a light Junsha appearance, will also join the Pokémon investigators. Otherwise at most responsible for some logistical work. On the contrary, the non-Junsha clan is the main force. For example, Adu was the Pokémon investigator before. It is precisely for this reason that Pokémon investigators can operate in various regions and gain certain support from the Alliance. Otherwise, if it were a department purely composed of the Junsha clan, or the Junsha clan as the main body, and carelessly interfered in Junsha affairs in various regions, I'm afraid that none of the major alliances would agree. Even now, the Pokémon investigators are only friendly forces to the major alliances, rather than real members of their own team. In name, they need to report before they can perform tasks. The Junsha clan in various major regions have also been separated for a long time, and they may not be happy to see the unreported Pokémon investigator. However, because the tasks of Pokémon investigators are generally not allowed to be leaked, they often perform tasks with their identities hidden in various regions. Only when they have no choice will they seek limited help from the Alliance. Because of his personal ability and chance, Adu established a very close relationship with the Quartz Alliance, especially the Alliance forces in the Chengdu area, and he became the new champion. However, Adu has also nominally separated from the Pokémon investigator, and the Kanto region has directly counterbalanced the situation, not only restoring the dual champions, but also introducing Sakaki as the other half champion. At this time, Judy is here, even leisurely working as a teacher, precisely because her target is at Didon High School. Xiaolan and Shinichi are both targets of her observation. It's just that Shinichi missed at this time, because they are all blonde, young women, and everyone, even Judy in the original work, has the same catchphrase as Belmod. And she pays attention to Xiaolan and Conan all day long, so she was once regarded as Belmod among the audience. Popular pick. But Eminem naturally didn't suspect anything. After Yuanzi introduced him, he greeted teacher Judy normally. I see, classmate Xiaolan is actually so good. Judy knew that Xiaolan came for special training for the official high school karate competition, so she praised her, of course. And Xiaolan will definitely win the championship. Yuanzi was already bragging with empathy. No, Yuanzi, don't talk nonsense, Xiaolan said in embarrassment due to shyness. Although the new equipment in the Tekken series here is not suitable for physical training, it does help trainers understand their Pokémon better. Xiaolan, what Pokémon do you have that is already in Tekken? Have you joined? Teacher Judy learned that Xiaolan was using it for the first time, so she enthusiastically started to guide her. My trump card is the long-eared rabbit, Xiaolan said. At this time she had done some homework in advance and knew that there were already jackrabbits and mega jackrabbits in the Iron Fist system. Although jackrabbit did not have a fighting type attribute before its mega evolution, it is still a Pokémon that can compete in karate competitions. Okay, Xiaolan, there is a seat here, you can try it. Yuanzi found an empty seat at this time. Eminem was also puzzled. There seemed to be a lot of people, but there was actually an empty seat in such an obvious place. Wait, there is. Before Judy could finish speaking, Xiaolan had been pulled over by Yuanzi and pressed down. Yuanzi finally found an empty seat, and was afraid that Xiaolan would give in. Then Sonoko directly put a helmet on her. It should be a consciousness connection device, which was the hard hat that Sakura saw in her dream. At this moment, a figure was displayed on the big screen in position C, and then, long-eared rabbit, here. After Xiaolan made her choice, the blurry figure on the big screen turned into a long-eared rabbit. Yuanzi also noticed something was wrong. Haha. Conan twitched the corner of his mouth and glanced at Sonoko, the 8th wife. No wonder no one is here. Because this position is socially dead, no wonder no one is connected to the big screen here. Indeed, the location of this device seems to be the C position in the right half of the area. Xiaolan didn't know that she was being watched now, so she chose the AI difficulty step by step. Why does this little girl seem to be a newbie? Don't you know there is a display booth? Hahaha, interesting. It looks pretty good. Ahem, scared me. This, isn't it pretty good? It's so fierce. From the first moment when I adjusted the page, everyone could tell that this was a newcomer. However, Xiaolan is a newcomer to the Iron Fist training machine, not a newcomer to karate. After getting a little familiar with it, she saw that the jackrabbit simply defeated the enemy simulated by the digital AI. Conan also looked at the big screen with an expression of appreciation and pride, and at this moment, suddenly there was a shutter sound behind me. Looking back, Conan discovered that it was Eminem who was secretly filming him. "What are you doing?" Conan asked doubtfully. Later, let Zyadalan see your love for jackrabbits, Amu said with a slight smile. Conan. In the photo, I saw Conan looking at the long-eared rabbit with long legs and long ears, showing a crazy expression. On the other side, when Conan came over and wanted to grab the illustrated book in Eminem's hand, he heard the BGM's voice change, and then I saw a cherub on the screen. Opposite the jackrabbit, it seems that Zyadalan did not choose her own AI opponent. What's wrong? Yuanzi was stunned when he saw this. Judy on the side explained, "It's the trespassing challenge. The display machine has a trespassing challenge mechanism. It's the other display machine opposite. Look, there is someone already there, right? It should be him. Between the two display machines, there is you can force PvP to start." At the same time, Yuanzi also heard people around him talking about the people on the other display machine. He seems to be a very famous person here and not easy to mess with. The jackrabbit on the big screen also showed a humanized expression of confusion at this time, but it could also be seen that he wanted to fight, and he was also ready. Chapter 680. The first cherub. Hateful Zyadalan. Conan was secretly anxious at this moment. He saw Zyadalan being beaten on the big screen. At this time, both sides have activated the Mega Evolution form. Teacher Judy also explained at this time, in the Iron Fist system, the upper limit for simulated attributes is locked at around level 40. If Mega evolves, it will regress to around level 35. But there are races with Mega Evolution increases. The value is still better than before Mega. Once Mega evolves, it is equivalent to a lower level, but the theoretical combat power increases, and the distribution of racial values and characteristics also change. In this way, Gia Cherum is actually very advantageous, because of the power of Yoga Cherum. Even if the levels are the same, the advantages of power of Yoga and Hercules are too great, right? Amu smacked his lips. After seeing this, these characteristics can greatly increase the strength. Zyadalan simulated the Mega Jackrabbit in the ring. At this time, the strength was obviously at an absolute disadvantage. I can't help it. Isn't that what Pokémon is like? And it's very powerful, so it's difficult to control. Cherum is also the most difficult to control among the existing Pokémon in Iron Fist, Judy said at this time. At this moment, I saw a flexible Mega Cherum on the big screen, constantly attacking the Mega Jackrabbit flexibly, and finally drilled into the close range of the Jackrabbit. Beat the Jackrabbit repeatedly, until it falls to the ground. This is close combat? Eminem was amazed. This Iron Fist system is really interesting. But for Eminem, it's obviously of no use. After all, Iron Fist can only allow trainers to use their consciousness to simulate a limited number of Pokémon, and the upper limit of attributes is not high, and the template data is fixed, which means it is not exactly the same as their own Pokémon, but the same. In contrast, Eminem's animal senses can completely simulate his own Pokémon's body, and even create a feeling of possession. This is a bond with Pokémon. Compared with Eminem, this Iron Fist is still too clumsy. It hurts. Zyadalan let out a soft cry of pain, and then took off her hood. Zyadalan, are you okay? Yuanzi asked worriedly and apologetically. Of course it's okay, it's just a bit of pain imitation. By the way, Zyadalan also noticed something was wrong. Everyone around her seemed to be looking at her. Did I shout that loudly? Sorry, it's all my fault. I didn't know this was a display machine. Yuanzi clasped her hands together and raised them in front of her eyes to apologize. Zyadalan then realized that it was herself on the big screen and couldn't help but feel stunned. At this moment, a tall and thick man with yellow hair walked over. His yellow hair was obviously dyed, and he was wearing a red vest, looking very fierce. Haha, little girl, since you lost, get down from your seat. That's my exclusive seat, said the red vest arrogantly. Do you think this is your home? Yuanzi immediately blocked the way like an old hen protecting her chicks. Yuanzi, the loser, goes to the exhibition booth. Teacher Judy reminded in a low voice. She obviously comes here a lot recently, so she knows the rules. Yuanzi paused when he heard the words, and Red Vest took 2 steps closer at this time. Haha, this is not a place for little girls like you to play. Of course, if you want to play, I can teach you. As he spoke, he wanted to pat Yuanzi on the shoulder provocatively. But as soon as he raised his arm, he was caught by Eminem. Boy, you are the big man in the red vest glanced at Eminem. Just when he was about to provoke, he saw Eminem's shadow, and then he stood behind Eminem with his teeth and claws, the scholar eyes on the black shadow, looked at the red vest and felt guilty, so he just shook off Eminem's hand and muttered something like, "Ghost type guys are just annoying," instead of continuing to provoke. In this world, even if you want to bully, it is useless to just be big. The Pokémon must be savage and able to fight. It won't work if it's not savage or vicious, because it's difficult to order ordinary Pokémon to bully people. Originally, the reason for the red vest was that these people were young and probably didn't have any powerful Pokémon, but the result, then I met a ghost type trainer, and I immediately didn't want to mess with him. Firstly, it is ghost type tank fighting type, and secondly, ghost type Pokémon are more fierce in everyone's impression, and even the trainer's character is generally a bit scary of because something might happen today. Eminem changed his Pokémon at the Pokémon Center before going out. Although Poppy and ghosts don't like to cause trouble, they are still reliable at critical moments, right? Mainly because they are so humane. It can accomplish many things that ordinary Pokémon cannot do. Xiaolan got down from the display without any trouble at this time, while Yuanzi was still a little unconvinced, but she just muttered angrily and didn't do anything else. Seeing this, Eminem said directly, "I'll try it, eh?" But Yuanzi was stunned when he heard this, and then looked at Eminem with some worry. After all, he was not a fighting trainer at all, and he was not even an amateur in karate. Yuanzi can also see that this Iron Fist is quite difficult, especially the equipment in the display area, which defaults to the highest level and is the most difficult to operate. Therefore, Xiaolan, who seemed to be a novice before, was actually able to properly control the simulated equipment. The long-eared rabbit surprised everyone. For normal camera positions, you can choose the difficulty. For example, if you set them to level 20, although the enemy and friend levels will still be the same, the control will be easier. Oh boy, do you want to challenge me too? Ha ha ha. The red vest laughed at this time. A waiter on the side reminded Eminem, "Farewell, that guy's Yuanzu's #1 charm. There are many trainers who can beat him. In terms of karate, this lady should not lose to him. But on Iron Fist, that guy is invincible." It's said to be simulation training, but Iron Fist also has many unique skills. If it were really better than karate, Xiaolan would not lose to him. Eminem said nonchalantly, "To be honest, this is actually the first time I've played Heracross in Xiangan." The waiter, who looked very thin, rolled his eyes when he heard this and said, "I heard it, even if you whispered it. What's the point of playing for the first time? How about I come?" Sakura said aggressively from the side. It's her first time playing, and she doesn't know how to karate, but as a magical girl, it's too easy for her to control the body of a level 40 Pokémon. No, let him try the best Heracross in the world first. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 681, Fighting on Behalf of Others. I heard that Eminem was still determined to challenge, and a middle-aged guest next to him started to persuade him. From the words of the waiter and a middle-aged customer next to him, Eminem learned that the boy in the red vest and yellow hair was named Zion Wu, and he was originally a troublemaker. However, Zion Wu's Iron Fist level was very high at the beginning, but it was not invincible. In recent months, it has become more and more powerful. He defeated all those who were similar to him before. After that, he would fight here every day. who's Arxio. Even because of the established rules, a seat in the exhibition booth directly became his special seat. For example, the waiter Arjun and the middle-aged guest Minji beside him are also masters of Iron Fist. They are similar to Zion Wu before, but now they are no match at all. I see. After hearing what they said, Eminem looked thoughtful. Arjun and Toshiji thought he had given up, but at this moment, they heard Eminem ask, "So, does this Iron Fist have competition bonuses? You guys play this here every day. It's training. Are you still playing? Do you have any income?" Jun, minimum C, so I'm not working. Arjun said angrily. Toshiji also looked embarrassed and said, "Uncle, I am a retired karate player, so there's nothing wrong with relaxing, right? Hahaha, a waiter with strange power, a decadent and fiery monkey, Yuan's who is really no one." Zion Wu, the red-shirted boy, laughed at this time. Eminem looked at him strangely and said, "You still have the nerve to smile? You are the only one who is unemployed, right? Zion Wu, you boy." Zion Wu was immediately furious. Tomoe on the side immediately turned to Conan and said loudly, "Conan, you must never imitate this kind of big brother in the future. Cherim, the first Yuanzu, can only be used as a talking point in friendship, and he has a long history. If it's not done well, the conversation will be useless." Conan, Zion Wu. Before Zion Wu could get angry, Eminem said first, "Wait, I'll educate you." I saw Eminem talking and walking towards another display machine. He had already said this, and the others did not stop him. Not long after, a Heracross appeared on the screen. Iron Fist. There are not many Pokémon that can be simulated now. Eminem looked at it and found that the only one he had was Heracross. Seeing another trespassing challenge, many other people on the 4th floor also looked over. Sure enough, Heracross was clumsily setting the options at this time, probably choosing skills and props before entering the challenge screen. At this time, a familiar voice came from behind Sakura. "Ajin, you are lazy again." I saw that Taoya was also wearing waiter's clothes at this time, and even urged the waiter Arjun, "No, I'm about to get off work." Arjun said sarcastically. Obviously he is the senior, but this kid Taoya feels very oppressive. When Sakura turned around, she realized it was Toya, and her eyes immediately lit up. "Brother? Why are you here? Where is Yukato-san? Huh? Is this what you should say when you see your brother? Aksu has just started work and is at the front desk." Toya rolled his eyes. "Hey, you actually have such a cute sister?" Arjun said in surprise. As a result, Toya glared back. At this time, on the big screen, Heracross and Cherim were seen on the field. At this time, Heracross was still looking at his hands in curiosity. "Look at your feet. You look very curious." "What? He's just a newcomer. That guy Zion Wu won't show mercy." "That's right. I often use very painful blows on purpose. I'm afraid I'll suffer a lot." Everyone watching could not help but start talking. Toya also looked at the screen, then at the people at the 2 display booths, and then said, "What is this kid doing? That guy is too arrogant." Sakura explained at the side. Toya's eyes lit up when he heard this and said, "Hey, Arjun, don't get off work yet. If that kid wins later, you can take over for me." Toya was in high spirits, preparing to wait until Eminem defeated his opponent before going over to KO him. Hey, what are you talking about? If you expect your friend to win, I'm afraid." Arjun shook his head helplessly at this time, but Toya immediately interrupted. "First of all, not friends. Jun, it's begun." Yuanzi looked at the big screen anxiously. At the beginning of the battle, Heracross roared in a decent manner, but the face of Cherim on the opposite side only showed disdain. "What is it called?" Pretending to be like that. Most of the onlookers thought so too, but Toya had already begun to curl her lips, obviously seeing Eminem's trick. Then the battle began. Due to power of yoga, Cherim was obviously stronger than Heracross. His seemingly thin fist hit Heracross's carapace, and the latter also. They all looked pained. However, Heracross was not affected by this. He also became more and more courageous as he fought. With his longer arms, he checked Cherim's strength advantage, and even used the big horns on his head smoothly. Just now, The antelope flicked its head like an antelope, sending the approaching Cherem flying away. Is this really the first time he uses Iron Fist? Middle-aged Toshiji asked curiously. Indeed. Heracross has horns, his arms are too long, and his legs are too short. In fact, it is very troublesome and difficult for humans to adapt to the simulation. But now Arjun also sighed with emotion. Eminem's performance is already outstanding now, and the no one Cherem nuance who won't take any advantage at all. You don't want to read it? At this moment, Arjun saw Taoya turn around and go to work. No, I'm going to work. Taoya seemed to have lost interest. That's right, Toya has already seen it. The person controlling Heracross now is not Eminem at all, but the real Heracross, although since it is not his own body, various attributes are not quite right. But there is still no human being who can use the body of Heracross more skillfully than Ali. After all, no matter how uncomfortable it is, he is indeed Heracross after all. Xianwu didn't expect that he would be raped by a newbie. No. He's definitely not a newbie. This guy has played himself before. In this case, let you know how awesome it is. Xianwu sneered secretly. At this moment, Cherem suddenly flashed and entered the state of Mega Evolution. Not only did his image change, but more importantly, 8 illusory looking arms condensed from his back. Chapter 682. He must have cheated. Here we come. That guy is serious. Arjun suddenly said at this time. Why are there so many? Yuanzi remembered that when he and Xiaolan were fighting just now, there were only 2 extra arms. One of Mega Cherem's own abilities is to materialize the key of the fighting system with the mental power of the super energy system to form a solid arm. The stronger Chalamis, the more arms he forms, and the more realistic they are, generally speaking. However, this ability is too difficult for humans to control. After all, humans only have 2 arms. If you want to properly control the virtual arms behind you, you probably need a fighting master plus a superpower user to be able to handle it. Before, Xianwu could only control 2 virtual arms, and once the virtual arms appeared, he would be a little confused. Arjun said at this time, but in recent months, this guy has been stimulated by some unknown source, and his strength has improved by leaps and bounds. He can actually control the arms behind him. Just like now. Uncle Mincy also said, how on earth do you do this? You are obviously a human being, not a person with superpowers, but you can actually. Arjun's tone was also very confusing. At this moment, behind Cherem, 8 terrifying arms appeared, and a burst of Euler appeared towards Heracross. Although Heracross also used his arms to constantly block in real time, he was still clearly at a disadvantage. When Yuanzi saw this, he couldn't help but exclaimed for Eminem. But at this moment, Heracross took a slight step back, and then, fighting system, energy surged all over his body. At the same time, he raised his arms above his head and knocked the big horns on his head, and his whole body was suddenly all the fighting energy surged, and the muscles swelled. Is this bodybuilding? This guy's really using Iron Fist for the first time. He's very confident. Minimum C was surprised when he saw this. At the same time, a hot air was seen gushing out of Heracross. The originally dark blue shell now turned bright orange at some joints. Still bringing fire orb. That must be the perseverance tray. But what a nonsense. He's not really Heracross. Perseverance, when a Pokémon falls into an abnormal state such as paralysis or burn, its power will be greatly improved, and it will also be immune to the interference caused by burn. That is, its power will not be affected by burn, and the fire orb will cause itself to fall into a burn state after being activated. The waiter Arjun and Uncle Minimum C were both amazed, but they were not optimistic about this move. After all, human beings have their limits. Unless you are a fighting master or a karate master, you will not be able to control such a huge force, even if you are just simulating it. At this time, Heracross seemed to be in second gear, and there was still some smoke coming from his body. Although the strength and physical defense were improved, the speed of movement was indeed improved. After all, the speed of movement depends on body size and strength, and the speed of skill accumulation is 2 different things. Hey, Dali wanted to inspire Mega Evolution at this time point, but Eminem decisively stopped him. At this time, Dali can already maintain the perseverance characteristic before Mega Evolution after Mega Evolution, which is equivalent to superimposing a continuous attack. But now this is a simulation, not Dali's own body. The simulation of Tekken is very rigid. As long as Mega evolves, its pre-evolution characteristics will be replaced. When perseverance is replaced by continuous attack, it will be a big loss. As for Cherem, the characteristics of power of yoga remain unchanged after Mega. That's right, the one who controls Heracross at this time is Dali. Eminem's animal senses are originally about interaction of feelings and sharing of perceptions, so after being stimulated to the extreme, Eminem will feel like he is possessed by himself. The feeling of a Pokémon. Eminem doesn't usually use it the other way around, but that doesn't mean it can't be done. Xian Wu sneered in his heart at this moment, feeling that this boy would never be able to control such a strong power, and would be easily defeated. Then I saw the fists on the 8 arms behind Mega Cherem all burning with flames. At the same time, it itself was floating and sprinting towards Heracross under the power of telekinesis. Fire Fist. Although it is not really 8 times the damage and the power of the fire is dispersed, it can be seen that this Mega Cherem is really good at fighting. 8 arms and fists use the Fire Fist to restrain Heracross at the same time. Even Heracross, who had already crushed the opponent in terms of strength, was still a little confused in blocking, and was finally punched in the face. Superior, but then Eminem and Xian Wu were shocked at the same time. So strong. Real or fake? Did you cheat? Hey. After vigorously suffering the pain, he fought back without hesitation. To everyone's surprise, this young man showed no signs of being unable to control the powerful force. He was still able to use the body of Heracross that had inspired perseverance and bodybuilding. Once. Straight punches, corner thrusts, throws. The movements of Heracross are as smooth as Mega Cherem, without any feeling of stagnation. The performance of both parties surprised the other party. Regarding themselves, both parties were not that surprised. Although Dali has dual element of insect plus fighting, he has power card as a reference. Now he has grown to more than 60 levels. Can he control a level 40 body with just one hand? At this time, the combat power of Heracross crushes Mega Cherem. Even after Mega Evolution, Cherem's effective combat power is not as good as Heracross. Especially in terms of strength. Although Mega Cherem has power of yoga, Heracross also has perseverance, and the bonus is almost the same as power of yoga. As a result, the attacking race value is higher, and the simulated level is also advantageous. Not to mention the bodybuilding. Both strength and defense are improved by a certain amount. Normally it should be crushed, but now the two sides are evenly matched. Even if the power of Heracross continues to create opportunities, every time it wants to expand its advantage, Mega Cherem can always use the arm behind it to attack the enemy just right. The situation must be saved, and the situation of losing 1,000 pounds with 4 ounces is resolved. For a moment, Heracross was unable to do anything to the opponent due to his huge attribute advantage. Hey. Dali became a little frantic. Eminem can also see it. These variables have been controlled, so there is only one conclusion. The opponent's fighting consciousness is better than Dali, but Eminem is a little confused now. Does that little yellow-haired boy really have such strong fighting skills and understand Cherem so well? I always feel like something is weird. If Eminem takes off his hood, he will find that the outside is already boiling, and most people will ignore their own training and start to watch this super level battle. Chapter 683. No cheating? What is this young man's background? It's amazing. Not only is he good at playing Iron Fist, he must also be a master of the fighting system in reality. Right. Wow. This super horn strike is amazing. I would like to call him the best Heracross. People call you. How on earth did that guy Xian Wu do this? On the big display screen, the battle of Heracross vs Mega Cherem was in full swing. The trainers on the 4th floor and the pure players all watched the excitement. They never thought that Iron Fist could actually play to this extent. I even doubt that my own chairman Heracross sitting there may not be able to perform so well, especially Zion Wu. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that Eminem's side is much better in terms of hard attributes, but the situation is still evenly matched. Who is Zion Wu fighting against? A professional karate player. At this time, a thin young man wearing a blue casual suit came over and looked at the big screen with a surprised and somewhat troubled expression. Huh? Geo Bayo? You're here too? Arjun obviously knew this person. It's a young man I don't know. Maybe he's a trainer who traveled here. Uncle Toshiji said, looking at Sonoko and the others. Yes, we are indeed here to travel. Tomoyo replied at this time point. As for Sonoko, she was staring at the big screen, very nervous, while Sakura kept staring at Kengo. Eminem had just whispered to her that this guy was so annoying in front of Conan. There is a way to take death. Therefore, Sakura kept watching, fearing that someone would do something evil. Why are you here today? I haven't seen you for a long time. Arjun asked Geo Bayo, who had just arrived. It's not that guy Zion Wu. We have to fight again today. Geo Bayo said, his eyes also staring at the big screen with complicated expressions. When Arjun saw this, he said a little discouraged, how is it? Do you still want to fight after seeing it? Geo Bayo remained silent. In fact, in the normal state of Zion Wu, whether it was Arjun, Geo Bayo or Uncle Toshiji, he will be able to fight point. But in the past few months, Zion Wu will become super strong. As long as he gets serious, Eminem is the first person they have seen who can fight with the serious Zion Wu, like he is now point. When Geo Bayo heard this, he gasped violently. Just when Arjun was nervous that he seemed to have stimulated him, Geo Bayo said, maybe we really can't win. Geo Bayo was a little distracted and his words were confused, but Arjun only thought that he had been shocked. Ding ding, the halftime bell rang point. Because it is a karate rule, there is an intermission after 3 minutes. This also makes the use of some skills and tactics different from ordinary Pokémon duels. For example, Eminem's previous tactics against the Badger Ibrahimovic team are completely inappropriate for this situation, because during the halftime break, the stimulating and inhibiting effects of the gene chain, as well as the abnormal state, have to calm down. Now, the bodybuilding that is equivalent to Dali is directly cleared, and Zion Wu's mega evolution state disappears. This is also because, after banning most of the skills and basically only being able to fight hand to hand, this type of self-motivation and suppression of opponent's skills is too cost effective in the karate ring, and the rules have been weakened. In addition, after the halftime break, if a Pokémon is on the field, its skills will be prepared at this time, and they can be used directly as soon as the second half begins. When Xiaolin and Zion Wu fought before, they were defeated in less than 3 minutes. This situation is not uncommon in ordinary karate competitions. Eminem is also the first person to fight Zion Wu until halftime in recent months. But the halftime break was actually a bit disadvantageous for Eminem, or for Dali. Taking advantage of a few minutes of rest, Zion Wu took off his helmet unhappily. After a quick look, he found that Eminem had no intention of taking off his helmet and seemed to be taking a rest while keeping his consciousness connected. On the other hand, Zion Wu also saw Geo Bayo and couldn't help but smile and said, brother, you are here too. Although he is called Big Brother, it doesn't make people feel his respect. More importantly, there is also some vague ridicule. Geo Bayo didn't seem to hear it. He came over and exchanged casual greetings with him, and then said, after such a high intensity battle, are you sure you can still fight with me? Hahaha, brother, it doesn't matter. Zion Wu seemed to be saying, you kid is easy to deal with. Haha, I wish you good luck. Don't come up and lose to others first. Geo Bayo curled his lips. Don't worry, I won't lose. I just thought he was a newcomer, so I gave in a little bit. Zion Wu said very confidently. Soon, the second half of the game began. At the beginning, Heracross started with bodybuilding again, and the use of skills also stimulated the effect of Fire Orb. As expected, Zion Wu went all out this time and directly mega evolved, while vigorously controlling the simulated battle of Tekken. Eminem was not idle. but encouraged Noah to sneak into this simulation device, mainly to sneak into the opponent's interface to see if he could find out how the opponent was cheating. Seeing that the battle has entered a fierce stage, the powerful and heavy Heracross, the flexible Mega Charum, the huge insect horns and the flaming fists. I don't know how many times they have collided. It seems that Heracross has the advantage, but the advantage cannot be expanded, and Mega Charum often finds opportunities to counterattack, causing a lot of damage. Heracross has to withstand additional flames, but Mega Charum maintains Mega Evolution, and the setting also requires continuous weakening of physical strength. All the trainers and simple players in the audience have turned into spectators at this time. It looks like it might be a tie. I have to go meet this Iron Fist master who is passing by. Gaobeo saw that the game time had already passed 1.5 minutes, so he said this after saying that he came behind Eminem, seemingly preparing to be the first to welcome him down. At the same time, Eminem also received feedback from Noah. Nothing is wrong. There is really only one consciousness connected to Zion Wu. If Noah checks Eminem, he will find that another consciousness has been brought in. That is, Dallas consciousness. Is it a different way of cheating than me? Weird. Eminem was wondering. In short, unlike what he imagined, Noah found no trace of cheating. This made Eminem very unconvinced, and insisted that the other party's cheating was more subtle, and decided to test it out later. Chapter 684 SQ. In the fierce battle between Heracross and Mega Charum, 3 minutes of the second half have passed, and neither side has fallen. Generally in karate competitions, Pokémon vs. Pokémon battles are not uncommon due to time constraints, so the human vs. human battle is more important. Of course, there are also variations of Kyogoku's style of fighting against the opponent's Pokémon. According to the rules of karate, this is a tie, and no points are counted. If it is a tie in the general battle of the official game, and the previous small points are also tied, it will enter overtime. However, when the rules were set before, Eminem did not read them carefully. The rule was that there would be no overtime after a tie. And Zion Wu didn't even think that someone had a draw with him, and he didn't change the settings, so the game ended in a draw. So amidst everyone's applause, Eminem took off his helmet, and then a man in blue immediately hugged him, leaving Eminem stunned. "You're so awesome. This is the first time I've seen someone push Zion Wu to this level," Gaobeo said enthusiastically. Well, it's a pity that there is no winner, haha. Eminem couldn't handle his enthusiasm. "It's already a super exciting showdown," Gaobeo said, and he enthusiastically asked Eminem for advice. "By the way, when you were controlling Heracross, did you feel that it was particularly awkward to attack with your horns?" "To be honest, I always fail to use Heracross." At the same time, while Eminem was dealing with Gaobeo with awkward chats, someone finally noticed that Zion Wu had never taken off his helmet. At first everyone thought he had been hit. But when teacher Judy saw something wrong in his eyes, and at this moment, Toya came over with a mop, and when she saw Zion Wu sitting there motionless, she frowned at first, and then immediately walked forward, patted him, just when everyone thought that Zion Wu, who had a bad temper, might take the opportunity to express his anger. They saw this big guy actually followed Toya's tap and fell down directly from the training cabin. Then there was a moment of silence, and a woman was already ready to scream. Toya immediately looked at Eminem and shouted, "Hey, pharmacist, stop talking, come and save people." The screams came late, but at the same time, teacher Judy quickly shouted, "Calm down. He is just having an emergency. Where are the staff? Seal the scene quickly." Well, if she really thought it was an emergency, there would be no need to cordon off the scene. Arjun was still stunned at this time, and did not react. Fortunately, Snow Rabbit had already appeared at the exit of the walking ladder, and said to everyone with a smile, Sorry, the walking ladder can't be used now. As for the elevator, you had to wait." At this time, everyone calmed down, and no one was in a hurry to leave in public, especially Judy, who had also arrived at the elevator in trance. At this time, Eminem first touched Zion Wu's neck, then opened his eyelids and looked. How could Sakura couldn't help but feel worried at this moment. She had obviously been watching dead Conan squatted aside. Naturally at this time point there is absolutely no self-consciousness of a child. Dead, but not completely dead. Amu said, looking at Chishideo. Refrigerator. Oh. Tomoyo agreed quickly, and then released the frozen rotom attached to the refrigerator. Of course, what Eminem needs is not rotom, but the potion in the refrigerator. Rotom is a very practical Pokémon when traveling. Putting rotom with an electrical appliance attached into a Pokéball is equivalent to bringing an electrical appliance with you. I saw Eminem decisively taking out several medicines, then taking out a syringe, taking out some of each, then opening his mouth and pouring it into the mouth of Zion Wu, who had no heartbeat. Pharmacists are generally very traditional. There are almost no injectable drugs, and the main business has long been no longer for human use. Eminem. This is also an emergency. After giving the medicine, Eminem immediately started cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Young man, was he poisoned by something? Teacher Judy came over at some point. Conan stiffened when he heard this and became concerned. Eminem continued to press hard while saying, it is Pokémon toxin, and it is extracted. The toxin of Pokémon, that is at least level 70, and has a B-type or above poison sac structure. It should be directly injected by someone. An injection in the armpit. There's a pinhole there. Is there any hope for this? Judy was stunned. When she heard this, it sounded like she was dead. Half and half. Eminem wasn't sure either. When Judy heard this, she looked surprised, but she knew in her heart that Eminem was an expert pharmacist, so it was not surprising that he could come up with such a powerful potion. Because Eminem often appears with Zyalin, Judy's team also investigated his background. If you look carefully, you will find that Eminem's pupils are now reflecting flames. He is also always using his spiritual vision to observe the results of the rescue. At the same time, Eminem also felt a little strange. Normally, my antidote should be 90% likely to save someone who has just been injected with poison. But when Eminem said half and half just now, he was not being modest, but the effect was really not as good as expected. It feels like this guy has been cool for a while. At this time, Eminem thought about Noah's previous investigation results. This guy did indeed have only one consciousness during the duel just now. Could it be? Eminem had a vague suspicion in his mind. At the same time, Eminem finally saw that as he pressed again and again, the life of this guy began to flow, although the vitality is still being poisoned at any time. As the vitality gradually recovers, the medicine he poured in gradually takes effect and begins to suppress the toxins. This guy's life should have been saved. Although this guy's mouth is very mean, Eminem is not willing to die just because of this matter. For him, it is just a matter of some medicine. Don't you need artificial respiration? Taoya asked when she saw Ami doing the massage. No, that's not worth it. Eminem said decisively. Toya, ahem. I mean, the poison he was poisoned requires the blood to flow first to drive my antidote so that the lungs are not in a hurry to get oxygen. Eminem explained forcefully. Do you want me to come? Toya asked directly. Okay. Eminem said decisively. Conan on the side was even more confused at this time and asked in a low voice, in this case, he should be killed immediately, right? Yeah. Eminem just nodded. That's very strange. Because when he fell, there was only Toya beside him, and what I said before, still in Iron Fist. Chapter 685 Acquaintance. In the blink of an eye, Junsha had also arrived and officially sealed off the scene. As related persons, Amu and others were temporarily kept behind. With Eminem's rescue, Xianwu regained his heartbeat and was sent to the emergency room of the Battle Club. Although the Battle Club does not provide medical treatment, it still has comprehensive first aid equipment. After all, there are always some trainers who seek death. Not long after Eminem rested in the independent lounge arranged by the Battle Club, a familiar Junsha walked in. In fact, before he walked in, Eminem knew it was him, not because of how familiar he was, but because his footsteps were too special. Dare to help the police department. His footsteps were easily identifiable, because he was using crutches. Gans, who still had a one-eyed scarred face, and his expression was not friendly at all. He didn't relax, because Eminem was an acquaintance of his, and he even looked like Eminem owed him money. Huh. You've been transferred here? So efficient? Eminem said in surprise. A few days ago, Amike and Yumi recommended Gansuk, Gaoming and Yui, but they didn't expect to see him in Yunsu City so soon. Sure enough, Yumi has special permissions. Even if it is an illegal cross-regional transfer, the efficiency is actually so high. As expected, it's you. Gansuk glared at Eminem angrily, a true look. When Eminem saw this, he comforted her with kind words. No matter how hard you try, that one will also open. Dare to help you. Boy, okay, dare to help. Let's do business first. Yui's voice came from behind. Sister, Yui is here too? You see, I specially wanted to prevent you and Sister Yui from being separated, so I recommended the three of you. Eminem said when he saw this. What separation? We were never together in the first place. Yui suddenly said in a panic. Huh? Don't talk to yourself. Although Gansu's face was neither red nor white, he still had a reaction. Huh? Of course it's because having Sister Yui as your partner can cover up your gangsterism so as not to scare the witnesses, so we can handle the case more smoothly, so we should be together. What do you think? Eminem showed a puzzled expression. Gansu, Yui, ahem. Okay, we have to handle the case. Yui also knew that he did it on purpose and immediately adjusted his attitude and said, there's nothing else I can do, right? My potion should have been analyzed. I'm here to save people. Eminem said, spreading his hands. No, I'm not here to ask the great pharmacist about your own inspection results. And, you were fighting him before, right? Did you find anything at that time? Yui took the initiative to ask Eminem to prevent Eminem and Gansuk from quarreling again later. It is the toxin extracted from Pokémon that is at least level 70 and has a real poison sac structure. There are needle holes in the armpits, suspected of injection. Eminem told the previous test results and then said, then the guy's performance in the Tekken simulator was very good. 50 to 50 with me. Hey. Gansu stood next to him and said, stop bragging, everyone has seen this. Eminem added, indeed, we also found pinholes. This kind of toxin again, that is to say, the prisoner was injected with the toxin after he dueled with you, just 1 minute before he was discovered, even within half a minute. Yui said while recording. According to Eminem's description and the residual toxin found in the victim's body, the effect was very rapid. If it had been injected during a duel, abnormalities would have occurred at that time. No, I don't think so. Eminem shook his head at this time. Huh? Is there anything else you haven't said? Gansuk asked immediately. When I examined him, he should have been out of breath for more than 3 minutes, otherwise he would have woken up by now. Although we pharmacists are not good at treating human diseases, we are very good at detoxifying. Eminem emphasized. Huh? But didn't you say that during the previous duel in Iron Fist? Yui looked confused when he heard this. I think there is a more likely scenario that he cheated. Otherwise, how could he be so strong? Eminem said confidently. Huh? Isn't it 50 to 50 with you? Are you cheating too? Ganshu asked immediately. It's a 50 to 50 fight with me, but I'm not cheating. Eminem denied it flatly. That's the bond with Pokémon. But we also asked experts from the technical department to check the machines in the display booth. There are no signs of being hacked. Yui emphasized after flipping through the information at this time. Then, there is some special method, and the person who poisoned him should also know it, so he set up an alibi for himself like this. Huh. By the way, is there anyone who must have been injected with poison after the duel and those who are free of suspicion? Hurry up and arrest them and torture them. Eminem said very seriously. You are too arbitrary, and how can you torture me so severely? Yui rolled his eyes. No way. Amu glanced at Gansuk in surprise, an expression that said, I think he is just like Junsha. To help. You are the one who deserves to be tortured the most. Gansuk felt like his life would be shortened every time he saw Amu point at this moment. Eminem suddenly saw that Conan quietly opened the door without knowing when, and then lurked in with his camera angle stuck. Slim Shady, what kind of legendary assassin are you? Yui said at this time. There are currently 4 suspects, including the waiter Arjun, regular customer Toshiji, regular customer Gaobeo, and the waiter Toya. Hey. Don't talk about this to irrelevant people. Gansuk scolded sternly. Huh? Why is there still Taoya? Amu wondered when he heard this. It is true that there is no connection between Toya and the victim, but, judging from the poisoning situation, the first person who discovered it is indeed the most suspicious. Yui also admitted that Toya had no motive at all. Do the other three have a motive? Amu thought about it, and it was true that both Arjun and Minimum C had complaints about Zion Wu. Hearing the words, Yui hesitated for a moment, and then looked at Ganshu, wondering whether to speak or not. Seeing that Gansuk didn't really stop him, Yui said, well, Kengo often bullies Arjun. A month ago, after defeating Toshiji, he said some words that were too much for a retired karate player. Gaobao's words, it is said that he was opposed to his sister's relationship with Zion Wu, and when the victim was fighting against you, they both passed by the victim. Are you sure there are only 3 of them? Eminem confirmed. We have an eyewitness. It's Sakura. She said she kept staring at Kengo. Yui emphasized point at this moment. Eminem rolled his eyes and said, not sure, maybe it's someone who knows how to change the perspective, like this. With his quick eyes and quick hands, he pulled out a smiling Conan from under the table. Chapter 686 Awakening. Eminem's frantic attempt to include a little boy as a suspect was rejected by Yui. That must be Gaobao. When he just finished, he came over and hugged me and chatted awkwardly. After analysis, he must be trying to prove his alibi. Eminem immediately said what he said about himself judgment. No, but his alibi is the most sufficient. After all, your cheating statement has no actual proof. Yui said helplessly. Gaobao went over to chat with Hayano for a few words during halftime. Then shortly after the start of the second half, he came to Eminem's side. He didn't leave until Hayano fell. Many people saw it. So, why did so many people see it? He must be deliberately proving his alibi. Eminem said very reasonably. Conan and Yui both rolled their eyes and then ignored him. Whose co-author has the strongest alibi, and who is the most suspicious? What kind of outrage is this? Gansu showed a thoughtful look and muttered in a low voice, it's not unreasonable. If you want to say that Gaobao is suspicious, you must first prove that the victim is indeed cheating. Yui emphasized, simple. Can't we just let him fight me again after he wakes up? If the difference is too big, it will be cheating. Eminem said fairly. If he wakes up, wouldn't it be better to just ask him the murderer? Gansuk curled his lips. Although Zion Wu may not have seen the murderer, but just ask him when he felt the pain, and he can roughly infer the murderer. No, the needle hole looks like a thin needle. If he was injected in the Tekken simulation, his feeling would not be very obvious, especially, he may not be willing to tell the truth. Eminem seemed to be convinced. He cheated and refused to admit it. Rematch. Okay, if he wakes up and is in good condition, we can closely monitor him and challenge you again. Yui said. Gansuk and Yui did not doubt Eminem's statement. They only thought that he meant that if the duel was to resume, everyone would carefully watch Kengo to make sure that he was not cheating. Little does he know that Eminem has roughly guessed what Zion Wu's hack is and is planning to confiscate his cheat. But can he wake up so quickly? Gansuk asked doubtfully. Don't underestimate my potion. As soon as Eminem finished speaking, Junsha came in and said with a happy face, please help the police department. The victim has woken up. It seems that there is no need for reasoning this time. Gansuk said, stood up, and limped out. No one dared to help him at this time, otherwise he would be scolded. Eminem and Conan followed them consciously, without any scruples about not running around. The pharmacist's method is very effective against this kind of acute toxin that does not attack the nerves. It will either be cold, or it will take effect soon. When they arrived at the emergency room, they saw that Zion Wu was still a little pale. Fortunately, he didn't seem to be in too bad a state of mind. He was still very angry when he just woke up. But as soon as Gansuk came in, Zion Wu, who had lost his temper with other Junshus, suddenly became virtuous. You also know what happened, right? Tell me when you felt you were stabbed. Gansuk asked directly. How do I know? Ahem. I mean, I can't remember clearly. I just remember that I seemed to be fighting this guy in Iron Fist, and then I was here when I woke up again. I looked like I dare to help, but it's hard to be fierce. Lost consciousness during the duel? Gansuk asked, staring at Xianwu with one eye. No, I don't have much memory. By the way, you guys will know if I won at that time. He. Xianwu said with a guilty conscience. Point boom. Gansuk hammered the table, startling Xianwu. Then Xianwu also remembered that he was the victim. Just when he was about to have an attack, Yui interrupted. So, Mr. Xianwu, among the people here this year, does anyone have a grudge against you? People present? Xianwu was stunned for a moment when he heard this, and then said angrily, "Ah, that's right. That must be them. That waiter named Arjun. Every time I teach him a lesson, their attitudes are not very good. There is also that old man Mincy who always pretends that he is a retired player. I beat him a few times, but he is always gibbering. Yui, Gansuk, Eminem, this guy really doesn't have a beep count." Regarding this, the Junshus didn't just listen to one-sided words, but visited them. The actual situation is that he bullied and embarrassed Arjun many times, and also mocked Mince's partner Pokémon who died. You guys are really... Gansuk said and leaned forward. However, Yui calmly stopped him. Although this guy is shameless, it is not the key. It is true that these two people will resent him, and Xianwu's face suddenly turned ugly, and he continued, "And eldest brother, no, it's that bastard Gaobao. He keeps forcing me to break up with his sister, but of course I refused, and today I was going to break up with him. I have a promise that after he loses, he will stop interfering in my and his sister's affairs." "Did you cheat before?" Eminem asked directly. What are you talking nonsense about? Didn't you tie me in the end?" Xianwu immediately retorted. "Ah, brother Xianwu, didn't you just say that you don't know the outcome of the duel with brother Eminem? Why do you think it's a tie now?" Conan stared at his two innocent eyes and looked at this big brother elder brother. Xianwu panicked when he heard this. When he saw Gansuk also showing doubts, Xianwu said bravely, I'm talking about the first half. Did the second half also turn out to be a draw?" Hahaha, yes. In karate competitions, usually there is no winner in each round, so it is called a tie. It is called a tie when there is no winner in the whole round, right? What Conan said was before and after you said something different. Don't try to lie to me. But his tone was like asking Big Brother for advice. Xianwu turned his head with an ugly expression and said, "How do I know? I'm not a karate player." Obviously, he doesn't want to admit anything, so regarding this kid's doubts, do you want a rematch to prove it? If it is proven that you did not cheat, then whether you ask him to apologize or sue him for defamation, I will support you. Gansuk said seriously at this time. Hearing this, Xianwu felt guilty for a while, but then he seemed to think of something. He gritted his teeth and said, "Then let's fight again. I will teach you a lesson this time." Chapter 687. You still said you didn't cheat? There were not many spectators this time. Most of the previous guests on the 4th floor had already left after a brief review. However, Gaobao, Arjun, Toshiji and others, as those who were still here and understood, Iron Fist, also was invited back to the scene. When Xianwu came over, he happened to see Ajin and Mincy researching seriously in front of their throne under Junsha's instructions. Obviously we are investigating the possibility of plugins. Have you seen enough? Xianwu said angrily. Okay. Arjun was still a little afraid of him, but Minimum C just gave him an unhappy look. The two of them really couldn't find anything. In fact, they had suspected Xianwu of cheating before, but they had never been able to find any evidence. Next, they will also keep an eye on Xianwu. At this moment, Eminem, Tomoyo and Sakura, who had different expressions, came over. Eminem had just gone to find the two of them to talk about something. "Brother, why don't you come over and check it out?" Haha. Xianwu looked at Gaobao on the side at this time, with resentment and fear. The one he suspected most now was Gaobao, but just now Gansuk had already said that so he couldn't refuse to fight. But Xianwu also feels very sad. Now he either gives up cheating and is embarrassed, or he continues to cheat. Then, the murderer will be at large. He was also thinking at this time that he would have to find a way to deal with this murderer himself. Xianwu was distracted and sat down on the display stand. When Eminem saw this, he sat on the other side a little uneasy and coyly. Then on the big screen, Heracles and Cherem appeared again, and this time infinite overtime was selected. After entering the arena screen, Mincy looked at the somewhat dazed Heracles and frowned. His instinctive feeling was a little different from before. When Eminem was simulating Heracles before, it was as if he were ill, but now he is more like a human, even a woman, and if he looked around more carefully, he would find that the girl with the chestnut ball hair looked strange now. Not only did her expression become more unscrupulous, but more importantly, the black-haired girl on the side was still staring at her. When she wanted to smile evilly and stand proudly with her arms crossed, she was blocked by her. As soon as she raised her arms, the black-haired girl hit her, and the newly arrived Toya also looked at her murderously. Seeing Toya coming over, the chestnut-haired girl flinched a little at first, but then she still took 2 tentative steps closer, and then said, "Hey, stupid brother." The tone was pretending to be playful, but it still felt strange. "You guy." Teoa's unkind eyes did not ease at all. "Ahem. In urgent matters, obey authority. In urgent matters. Shh. You don't want your sister to know that you are a wizard, do you?" Sakura whispered quickly. Well, even though it was Sakura who was saying it, it was obviously Eminem who said it. That's right. Eminem and Sakura are using the effect of replacement card. This time Eminem wants Sakura to fight for him. Eminem has reason to suspect that this Xianwu has controlled Dupe. For some reason, the spirit of Dupe itself is in the form of Cherem, and Dupe is proficient in fighting skills. This is in line with Xianwu's previous unreasonable performance. However, although the Dao card is a card of the earth element, Eminem doesn't know how to seal it in his conscious state. In comparison, Sakura is the magic user of the Clo card. Eminem thinks she should have a way, and Zyok also thinks she should give it a try. So Eminem and Sakura took the initiative to activate the effect of replacement card. This ability to swap bodies is not something that replacement card can use just when it wants to. The sudden explosion and replacement of Eminem and Tomoyo were its extraordinary performance, leaving Kurorido behind. And the magic power accumulated over a long period of time was exhausted. At this time, the effect of swapping bodies was used again. Sakura was activating it as a magician of Clo card. Thanks to the target being Eminem and Eminem's willingness to cooperate, it was successful. Only Tomoyo and Zyok know about this, and Tomoyo has now volunteered to monitor Eminem, who uses Sakura's body point. But Toya recognized it at a glance. Tomoyo was still staring at Amu, but he didn't hear what the two of them said clearly. Toya could probably guess what Eminem and Sakura were doing, so there was no attack for the time being. On the other side, the battle in Iron Fist has begun, but the situation is a little weird. Instead of mega evolving from the beginning, Cherem looked a little cowed. Heracles also looked clumsy, but he was able to chase Cherem. Is this what you call a wonderful showdown? Gansuk frowned at the scene. He has never used the Iron Fist system, but he still feels that it is very different from what the witnesses said before. No, what are they doing? Jun and Minimum C were also puzzled at this time. In the end, Heracles clumsily flew over and hugged Cherem's legs, and both people fell down immediately. Hey, return to your original appearance, Dao K. At this moment, Cherem's figure flashed and then disappeared. At the same time, the screen also showed that Xianwu's side was offline. Just when everyone was puzzled, Xianwu suddenly dropped his helmet and then yelled at Eminem, "Asshole, what did you do? Where is my ace? What? Trump card? It's obviously a cheat." Sakura said from the audience. Because Eminem was in Sakura's consciousness at this time, Eminem was worried that she would spill the beans, so he spoke using Sakura's body. What kind of cheat? Don't talk nonsense," Xianwu said with an ugly face. "There's no use denying it. We've discovered it with Porygon a long time ago. You're using an automatic plugin. Just now, Eminem got a bug and lost your plugin card. Eminem continued to talk nonsense using the body of Sakura. The matter of Kuro card still needs to be concealed in public. How is that possible? It's obvious. What? You still don't admit it? Now your cheat has failed. Let alone Eminem. I'm afraid these three can beat you now, right? Do you want to give it a try? Eminem used Sakura's body. One finger has been forced to the corner's Ianwu point at the same time. Sonoko looked over in confusion. She always felt that Sakura had been acting weird ever since Eminem came over and said something to them. Gaobao's eyes lit up at this moment, and he said quickly, "You kid, turned out to be a cheater? Okay, if you still don't admit it, let's continue our bet today. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 688, The Light of the Right Path. Seeing that Xianwu was actually cheated, and the hang seemed to be blocked, Gaobao immediately became energetic. It didn't matter, even if what he had done before was discovered. He was more worried that this guy was not dead. Gaobao had made an agreement with Xianwu before that. If he lost today, he would no longer interfere with his and his sister's affairs. However, in fact, he was determined to kill him and had no intention of facing off with Xianwu normally point. And although Gaobao didn't find out how Xianwu cheated or caught any evidence, he knew that he must have cheated or committed the crime automatically, so he committed today's crime point. When Gaobao said this, Xianwu's face was tangled for a while. Then he testified, "Asshole, you were the one who injected me with poison before, right? It seems that cheating can no longer be denied, and even his own artifact has disappeared. Then Xianwu must at least accuse the murderer who wants to kill him today. Oh, you cheating guy, just admit that you lost." Gaobao said calmly. At this time point Gansu on the side was already glaring at Gaobao. It was none of his business who cheated or anything. What he wanted to catch was the poisoned prisoner. "So, you admitted it, Mr. Gaobao? Why I also took out the handcuffs at this time." "Yes, I did it. Originally, this guy wasn't dead, so I was still worried. But a cheating guy can be considered a loser." Gaobao said calmly. At this time point Yue couldn't help but scolded at this time. "Enough. This is a human life. Can it be described in terms of victory or defeat?" However, when Gaobao heard this, he retorted more confidently, "Human life. This guy deserves to die. Last month, my sister was hospitalized." When Yui heard this, her expression relaxed slightly and she said, "Did he use violence against his girlfriend? Then as long as you report the crime." "No, it's malnutrition. Isn't it ridiculous? In this era, there are still people who are malnourished. They are all this guy. Not only do they idle around every day, but they also spend money lavishly. My sister has to work several jobs. I secretly gave her a few. Even the smallest amount of money was taken away by him to spend his days and nights." Gaobao said angrily. Point from this description, you can tell that his sister is already a love-struck person and cannot be persuaded at all. And Xianwu is very good at poor. So Gaobao decided to throw the fire under the cauldron and kill this scumbag directly. Point Toya nodded at this time and whispered to Sakura, "It doesn't sound like I can't understand it. What do you think?" But Yukito is not this kind of person, right?" Eminem said in surprise, using Sakura's body. In Eminem's opinion, Sakura was quite an infomaniac when facing Yukito. Point Toya. Although Xianwu received many disdainful looks, he became angry and said, "Haha, so what? Go to jail. Lose? When did I lose? By the way, her brother still wants me. Fate. I have to argue with her tonight and let her work harder to repay me. Hahaha, don't worry, brother, she will never be able to leave me in her life." You guy Toya said, already squinting his eyes and touching the wand hidden in his sleeve point. Although Gansuk and Yui are not ashamed of this guy's character. After all, they are Junsha, and they are from the criminal department. They are only responsible for poisoning cases, not for managing scumbags. Xianwu also showed his hands to the Junshas and said, if I say this, there is no problem, right? No one can interfere, right? Seeing this, Eminem moved quietly to Xianwu's side under Tomoyo's supervision and whispered as if casually, we can't live apart for the rest of our lives? Is that a marriage? Hearing the little voice of Sakura, Xianwu seemed to get some hint. In order to stimulate Gaobeo, he continued, that's right. After I go back, I will let your sister marry me. Then we will see what you can do. But can't we get divorced after we get married? Eminem continued to mutter in a small voice, which was only heard by Xianwu. Divorce. A woman is worthless after a divorce, not even as good as a disabled person. He sneered with satisfaction. Yui. Dare to help, hey. What are you doing? Xianwu just finished speaking when he received a cane on his calf. I suspect you have other issues that you haven't explained clearly. Take him back too. Gansuk said directly. That's right, and I've also seen that you beat Arjun many times, which seems to have caused internal injuries. Arjun has always been low energy recently. I think Arjun needs to check carefully to see how much compensation he needs to pay. Really? Miss Junsha? Toya took the initiative to say to Yui. Yui was distracted and feeling sorry for herself, but she didn't react yet. Huh. Oh, yes, take him away too. Gansuk said decisively. Isn't this bad? Yui felt that Gansuk must be avenging his personal revenge, and it was because of himself, so he was very hesitant. Of course, Yui said so, but in fact the handcuffs were put on by Xianwu. Ask, it means the body moves on its own. Wait, I'm not going. Xianwu stepped back timidly. As a result, Sakura immediately fell to the ground 10 centimeters away and shouted, ah. He resisted arrest. He resisted arrest. He also attacked the people present. As a result, Junsha immediately surrounded. Taking advantage of the confusion, Sakura quickly held the substitute card with Emma, who had completely conquered the double card and was getting down from his position. Seeing that Xianwu was already in custody, Eminem said at this time, by the way, I haven't signed the confession just now. I want to take a look. Ah. That's right. Yui quickly handed the record file to Eminem. But after looking at it, Eminem said, you guys really just came from Yanmo City. Are you too tired from the long journey? That's not what I said at all. Yui was stunned when he heard this. Hey. Conan reminded Eminem in a low voice not to do this, but Eminem still said, you must have misunderstood. The result of my examination at that time was that although the guy was poisoned, the reason why he went into shock was because of his long-term distracted mental state, which was induced by the toxin. It is speculated that it was long-term. The consequences of cheating. The toxin only further weakens his spirit and is not fatal. Well, we also extracted residual toxins. Yui knew what Amu was going to do, so she reminded him, no, that's a normal toxin reaction when I give first aid. Can your identification personnel be as professional as me? Eminem said, giving Gaobeo a business card. If you want to file a lawsuit, you can contact me, this lawyer. I can testify in court about the types of toxins. This must be perjury. Who are you? Xianwu became dissatisfied when he saw this. As an expert pharmacist and the first-time examiner, even if all the master pharmacists from the Pharmacists Guild consult with each other, it can't shake my determination if it's just a post-mortem appraisal. Eminem took out the expert level, put the pharmacist's badge on yourself. As he spoke, Eminem spread his hands and said, if I say so, there's no problem, right? No one can interfere, right? Chapter 689. The Dark Organization's small radar is activated. Seeing Xianwu being taken away unwillingly, Teacher Judy said, this is called evil people's own suffering, right? Eminem turned his head and glanced at her, feeling that her cultural accomplishment was not enough, so he corrected him, this is called the light of the right path. Now, although Xianwu is the victim, and if he dares to help, nothing will happen to him. He will probably let him go if he scares him. After all, Puer is not illegal. But, not only after being unable to cheat, the people here in Iron Fist, who have been grudged against him for a long time, will definitely find ways to humiliate him, fearing that he will not dare to come again. And more importantly, if Gaobeo is only a light duty prisoner, I really don't dare to do anything to Gaobeo's sister. After all, Gaobeo has now proven that he is a real daredevil. Xianwu is also prepared to stay away from this kind of madman. It's not that easy to find a second stupid woman. And he will no longer be a master of Iron Fist. His own skills have long declined due to slack, and the point of seducing a little girl is also there is one less. Hey, you gave false evidence again. Conan curled his lips and murmured in a low voice, huh? Shinichi, what did you say? Eminem looked like he didn't hear clearly. Xiaolan immediately looked over with elemental awareness. Conan quickly made a gesture. It's nothing. Conan just told me that if Shinichi were here, he would definitely do the same thing. Eminem said and rubbed Conan's head, but the latter did not dare to say anything. Huh? Xiaolan tilted her head in confusion when she heard this. By the way, it's a pity that your father is not here for the case just now. It is said that Mr. Kagoro is a very powerful detective, right? I will treat you to dinner later. How about you talk to me? And that Shinichi class made something about it. Teacher Judy said proactively, pretending to be curious. Conan also noticed at this time that this teacher Judy was weird, so he timidly said, Sister Xiaolan, I'm a little scared. Can I go back? I was scared now, and I didn't know who was the first one to rush to the corpse just now. Is that so? Sorry, Teacher Judy, today. Xiaolan completely believed it and was about to refuse. But Eminem said deliberately at this time, it doesn't matter. Teacher Judy can treat us to dinner. I'll tell you. Let you slander me as a false witness. Conan was so frightened that he quickly said, Sister Xiaolan, I want to eat fried chicken. Okay, I know there is a fried chicken restaurant nearby. Judy agreed immediately upon seeing this. Conan, Xiaolan said, looking at Judy sheepishly. Sure enough, during lunch, Judy asked about Kagoro very carefully. Although in this world, Uncle Kagoro is a wandering detective and does not have so many appearances, but most of what Conan encountered, it's not a murder case. But when you occasionally encounter a murder case, you will encounter Kagoro, a tool man. 9 out of 10. By the way, your classmate, Shinichi, is also a very powerful detective, right? Unfortunately, he has taken leave from all his practical courses recently. I haven't seen him yet. He is just listening to online classes. Judy was at this moment. This led the topic to a direction that concerned Conan even more. And Sonoko immediately became energetic. As for Shinichi, then Teacher Judy, you have asked the right person. To be honest, this Xiaolan is Shinichi, apostrophe that. Yuanzi, don't talk nonsense. Huh? Aren't you childhood sweethearts? What's wrong? What do you think? Xiaolan, while Judy was summarizing information from seemingly everyday remarks, she secretly observed the somewhat strange little boy. There will be a school festival at Didon High School in the next year, right? Will Shinichi come then? Judy asked curiously. Who knows? But if he doesn't come, then Xiaolan will be mine. Yuanzi said deliberately. Their class has already discussed the program online, and Xiaolan will be the heroine. By the way, Eminem can also come to the school to visit the school festival as an outside guest. Yuanzi said, and took the opportunity to extend an invitation to Eminem. When I might. Eminem had to prepare for the rookie competition and was about to refuse. But Yuanzi said at this time, it's January 16th at the main campus of Rainbow City. After hearing this, Eminem thought for a while, then nodded. On the 16th. That's okay, because Mr. Jumu's press conference is held in Jinhuang City on January 12th, and Tomoyo and Sakura are also scheduled to meet in Jinhuang City after the 15th. The specific time has not yet been determined, so we will continue to stay in Guangzhou on the 16th. Nothing. After lunch, Eminem returned to the battle club. First we funded the previous Tekken, Fee, and then continued training in the afternoon. The 4th floor where the Tekken system is located will not reopen until tomorrow. Of course, unconditionally get your money back. Fortunately, only someone was poisoned. Unfortunately, the other training rooms were not affected. Conan still left the battle club for Eminem this time. In this way, Eminem was still training normally the next day, December 19th. On the 20th, Eminem's training could only be suspended because today was the day to return to Kanto Point early in the morning. Eminem and others arrived at the airport. Tomoyo and Sakura also came to see them off until they were outside the departure hall. During this period, Eminem saw that there was another building at the airport that was surrounded by a barrier and was still under repair and construction. It was said that it was a debris warehouse that had been burned down 2 days ago. Recalling that a few days ago, Conan and Ran saw Offiji and Kazuha twice here, and Eminem didn't really want to know why. Arriving at the airport fast food restaurant, Eminem said to Yuanzi and Xiaolan, "You take Conan and Xiaoai to find a seat first, and I'll buy some set meals." It was still early to board the plane, and no one had eaten at the Pokémon Center in the morning point. But Xiaoai seemed to feel something, and suddenly grabbed Eminem's hand and said, "No, brother, I want to go see what's delicious too." Huh. Conan looked at Xiaoai in surprise. Eminem realized that this was a sign of her insecurity, so after being stunned for a moment, he led her over. "Do you feel anything?" Amu asked Xiaoai in a low voice. However, Xiaoai just had a sullen face and shook her head as if she didn't think it was a good idea. But just when she was about to reach Eminem, Xiaoai's whole body suddenly tensed up. Eminem, who was holding her hand, immediately noticed what's wrong as Eminem led Xiaoai to a position in front of him where it was convenient for protection. He looked left and right. "Don't look around. I have a bad feeling." Xiaoai's voice was filled with urgency and fear. Eminem immediately understood that this was the activation of her dark organization radar. At the same time, Eminem, who was really looking around, saw a suspicious guy. "I saw a very tall guy wearing a netted hat, with a straight face, standing in the row next to me, and not far behind me." Chapter 690. A coincidental encounter. After Eminem obviously looked around, he actually found a suspicious guy. At first glance, his figure is not strong, but he is very powerful. What is interesting is his pair of dark green eyes and a strand of curly hair hanging down in front of his forehead. Xiaoai, look back at that person. PFFT, he has a perm and is actually wearing a netted hat. Eminem whispered immediately. Xiaoai, regarding Eminem's lack of tension, Xiaoai no longer wanted to say more. As for Eminem, although the other party didn't look at him on the surface, in fact, after pulling Xiaoai in front of him to cover him, Eminem had already felt that kind of vague gaze. In this way, coupled with his appearance, Eminem immediately confirmed his identity, Akima's boyfriend. Jin's thorn in the side, the FBI. No, it should be said that he is the ace of the Pokémon investigator, Shuchiake. But what makes Eminem a little confused is, does the UIE know Xiaoai's identity now? The previous plot was too long ago, and Eminem can't remember the details. For example, now Eminem can't remember whether ZUIE recognized Xiaoai from the beginning, or whether he learned about Xiaoai by the way, when he discovered Conan's identity. Note 1. Hello sir, what do you need? Seeing that Eminem has been queued up. 1 set of meals for 3 people, and 2 sets of children's meals. Eminem looked at the ordering card and made a selection directly when leaving with the dinner plate, because there was no hand holding Xiaoai's hand. Xiaoai lowered her head and pulled the corner of Eminem's clothes, looking like a very shy little girl. Amu, this way. Yuanzi greeted. Not only did Eminem come over after seeing it, but at this moment, oh my god, what a coincidence. Sonoko-san and Xiaolan-san, are you going back to Kanto today too? At this moment, a voice that sounded very united came over. Sure enough, it was none other than the teacher Judy whom I had just met the day before yesterday. Huh? Teacher Judy, the new doctor is here too? After Yuanzi greeted Teacher Judy in surprise, she found that the school's new doctor was also there. The new doctor looks very young, elegant, and wears glasses. he is a bit handsome, which is the kind of person who makes you unsee a little bit crazy. Yeah. We are dating. Judy said carelessly. No, we just happened to meet each other at the airport. The new doctor said, a little embarrassed. How can you embarrass a girl like this? Judy pretended to be angry, but it would be bad if everyone really spread the news back to the school. Dr. Shin said weakly. Judy suddenly said, "Oh, you are right." Eminem asked curiously, "Doctor, does your school still have a school doctor? If you have online classes every day, what kind of school doctor do you need?" Of course. New doctors often diagnose minor problems online, and they are also teachers of therapeutic skills. Sonoko said matter-of-factly. Xiaolan also added, the new doctor is also an alumnus, and he acts as the school's football basketball coach during the sick leave of the football and basketball coach. Xiaolan and Conan had encountered Shin-related cases before, so Conan had known Shin for a long time. When he heard Xiaolan's admiring tone, his jealousy suddenly flew up. I only played some football basketball in college. I'm really incompetent as a coach. Now I have left the football basketball club and joined the drama club. Compared to football basketball, I can be better at acting, Dee said quickly and modestly. And when she heard that Shin had arrived at the drama club, Sonoko became even more energetic. The main focus of her class's performance at the school festival was to get the drama club's cooperation. But has the previous coach's illness been cured? Xiaolan asked curiously. At this time point the previous coach was still very good, because Zinai was going to join the basketball club. Xiaolan also knew a little about it. I heard that the school will recruit a powerful new student next year, and the condition is that he will also serve as the coach. Teacher Nihide said, not feeling any embarrassment about being replaced by a freshman in high school. There are such arrogant students. It really reminds me of someone. Sonoko said and bumped Xiaolan with her elbow, obviously talking about a certain high school detective. Amu suddenly said after hearing this, is he from Digwon? Well, he's still their captain. Shin nodded to confirm. Although it's not yet the new school year, it seems that Tiko's generation of miracles has already been booked. In addition, at this time, Eminem personally experienced the scene of Judy and Shincho flirting, and suddenly felt a little more. Judy was flirting with Shincho at this time. In addition to her own personality reasons, she probably also wanted to let stimulate Shuchi as the ex-boyfriend, even if he pretends not to know him. He is still in the store now. Judging from the original work, when he returned from being an undercover agent in the dark organization, Akeshuchi completely fell in love with Akemi. Although Akemi was dead, Akeshuchi was not prepared to have a new beginning in the relationship between men and women. Not to mention, Mingmei is not completely dead yet. It's just this new doctor I can only tease Shuchi Ake. Eminem naturally remembers that for a long time, the new doctor in the original work was pretended by Belmode. Although Eminem is not sure whether the new one is Belmode, but thinking about it, it should be 80%. Otherwise, the probability that teacher Judy really just met him by chance would be too low. If it was Belmode, it would not be surprising that Judy would appear near her, because the real Shin has been protected by suspended animation. The Pokémon investigators know this all too well. The reason why he left Belmode alone and even had sex with her was because he wanted to play the long game and catch the big fish. At this time, ZOAI was completely hidden behind Eminem, even wearing her clothes and hat. Although being by Eminem's side and Eminem letting Jin suffer many times has alleviated ZOAI's PTSD from the dark organization a lot, and she won't change her face after hearing about it. But the guy who is full of organization atmosphere is really surrounded is still scary. Fortunately, there were no empty seats around Eminem and others, so after saying a few words, Judy and Shin moved to other seats. But unfortunately before leaving, everyone checked their tickets and found out they were on the same flight. Note 1. There is no specific point in the original work about when Akeshuchi knew ZOAI's identity. However, Shuchi did pay attention to ZOAI from the beginning. This was before he knew that Conan was Shinichi, but he did not report it to the FBI. This point. Let's just assume that Akeshuchi recognized Akima's sister from the beginning and did not report the matter. It's just that Eminem is not sure about this. Also about what everyone is talking about Sister Berry. Of course Eminem knows Sister Berry, but he just doesn't know the name of the actor who is Sister Berry's social status. Most people probably can't tell it directly. Chapter 691 Flight. Judy and Shind also went to Rainbow City, and they were on the same plane as Eminem and others. Samizo does the weirdo wearing the knitted hat. Eminem doesn't think this is a coincidence. It's more likely that the Pokémon investigators and the Dark Organization have channels to know in advance the order of SYNOPSIS order during the security check. Eminem also watched Judy and Shind pass through safely. But Eminem didn't believe it. They were really honest and didn't bring anything. At the same time, sir, please cooperate and take off your hat. Shuchi was persuaded by the security personnel to take off his hat, and Eminem immediately looked over after hearing the sound. Look, it's that person again. Eminem reminded Zio AI in a low voice. At this time, Zio AI had already put on a mask and immediately put on a hat after the security checkpoint. Seeing that Eminem didn't feel nervous at all, Zio AI couldn't help but roll her eyes. Originally, Eminem thought that under Shuchi's hat there would be curls that had collapsed and looked like spiral hair, and he was ready to laugh at him. But, to Eminem's dismay, it turned out that Shuchi had a slicked back hair, with only the front few locks permed into curls. What? You actually take care of your appearance so carefully? It's obviously. Eminem curled his lips when he saw this. What is it? Do you see what he does? Conan asked quietly from the side. It seems that he has also noticed Shuchi. Maybe, teacher Tony. Eminem said confidently. Conan. Apparently Conan doesn't think it's that simple. Eminem guessed that this might be the Pokémon investigators' tactic. Shuchi is now close to being a high-profile player. Not to mention Belmont, who knew him before. Even ordinary people would find this guy difficult to mess with. If it's lurking, it definitely shouldn't be so high profile. Eminem suspected that this was a test, or a pretend to test Belmont, but he did the opposite, making Belmont think that the Pokémon investigators didn't find me, but just found something suspicious. After all, Shind was not silenced by Belmont, but he happened to die when Belmont was about to silence him. Although no traces were found, it was impossible to say that Belmont had no suspicion at all. At this time, ZUI comes to test her, which will probably make her less wary, and at the same time, it will also cover Judy, who is really hiding her identity. Seeing that Shind didn't look at Shuchi at all at this moment, Belmont's target is not Shuchi. Nor does he have great resentment towards Shuchi like Jin, and of course he doesn't want to expose himself because of him. Soon, the group boarded the plane smoothly. Yuanzi booked front and rear seats on the same side. If he sat according to the ticket, Yuanzi, Xiaolan, and Conan would be in the back seat, and Eminem and Xiaoi would be in the front seat. But, Amu specifically used his extraordinary eyesight to look at the ticket in Zinchu's hand, and found that this guy was indeed in the same row as him, and just outside him and Xiaoi. He glanced at Xiaoi out of the corner of his eye, and then Eminem put Xiaoi directly into Xiaolan's hand and said, Xiaolan, help me take care of Xiaoi. Yuanzi, please sit in front with me. I'm a little sleepy. It seems that he is just saying that he does not have the energy to take care of the children. Oh, okay. Xiaolan was stunned when she heard this. Apparently she didn't think that Xiaoi was the type who needed care. But she still agreed without any hesitation. Yuanzi froze at this moment, and then became nervous. If it's not for Xiaoi, then it's for you. Sit inside, Eminem said to Yuanzi after arriving in the cabin. Oh. After hearing this, Yuanzi immediately went to the seat next to the window. Eminem, on the other hand, sat in the middle and then really leaned back as if he was concentrating with his eyes closed. Until the new one comes in. Mr. Shind, is your position right here? What a coincidence, Amu said with a smile when he saw Shind. Shindaya greeted Eminem and the others in a friendly manner. He didn't show any abnormality at all. Because of Eminem's change of seats, it is true that they have reserved 5 seats, and it is their own business as to how they sit. It is a bit far-fetched to say that they are more suspicious of Xiaoai because of this, but at this moment, Shin took the initiative to ask, by the way, are Sonoko-san and Amu dating? What? What is Dr. Shin talking about? How can I? I'm sitting here because. Sonoko immediately felt at a loss and smoothed her short hair. Eminem suspected that, if she was embarrassed for a while, she would have the Sully hairstyle again. At the same time, Eminem also understood that this guy was probably testing. Why are Yuanzi and Eminem next to each other? It is said that Yuanzi and Xiaolan are very good friends. At this time, they would be next to Xiaolan, right? Judy, who was sitting in the front row, turned around and said, no, 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 a new doctor can't ask about topics that make girls shy. At this time, Eminem also followed Yuanzi's words and said with a smile, hahaha, the new doctor misunderstood. It was Conan Nan who wanted to play with my sister, and Xiaolan is better at taking care of children, so she sat like this. But it can't be too big noisy, Eminem said, turning around and making a gesture to Conan. Xiaoai lowered his head like an autistic person at this time, obviously having no acting skills at all. Conan, who heard Eminem's words a second ago, looked like a simmer, but when Eminem turned around, his acting skills were still the same. Putting on his vitality showter appearance, he nodded, yeah, I know, sure. Enough. Shin turned around and said, then if Xiaolan is tired, you can switch with me. I'm also good at coaxing children. However, before Shin's gaze lingered on Xiaoai, he saw a man who looked like Shuchi striding in from the front hatch, and even scratched Shin's shoulder as he turned around. Sorry, Shuchi said, looking down at Shin. Although his eyes were not intentionally vicious, they were just expressionless, but, coupled with his aura, it was indeed difficult to call him friendly. But Shin just smiled and said, it doesn't matter, Shuchi. Then continued to walk back and sat in the last row. Shin didn't look back anymore, but turned back. Huh. That person. Xiaolan turned her head and glanced doubtfully, but she didn't look much. What's wrong? Yuanzi asked, confused when he saw this. It's nothing. I always feel familiar. Xiaolan didn't remember anything specific. Ladies and gentlemen, our plane will take off soon. Please cooperate with the cabin crew for safety inspection. The destination of this flight is Rainbow Airport, Rainbow City, Kanto region. The estimated flight time is 3 hours. I wish you a good journey, Joy. Following the radio reminder, Eminem began his journey back to Kanto. It seems that he is concentrating with his eyes closed, but Eminem's attention has been very focused on the new next to him. But in his heart, Eminem felt that Belmode should be observing and testing this time, and would not really do anything harmful. On this plane, there were 2 Pokémon investigators, and one who was more dangerous than the investigators. The gang leader shouldn't be in any danger, right? Chapter 692 Testing. On the plane from Yuansu City back to Rainbow City, Eminem seemed to be resting with her eyes closed, but in fact, she had been secretly paying attention to the new around her. If nothing else, this guy should be Belmode, who came to observe Xiaolan and Conan. Eminem is not worried about this, not only because of his trust in Shinichi's IQ, but also because Belmode has a different view of Xiaolan and Shinichi, because of some previous things. And will not do anything to them. Even if there is an order from the organization, Belmode will only obey the orders of Xiaolan and Shinichi. She is not an obedient Kada. Therefore, what Eminem cares about is mainly Belmode's threat to Xiaoai, and secondly, there are also some things he wants to verify. Eminem is not afraid of Belmode. Even if she takes out Darkrai, Xiao Shen can still handle it, and, when he traveled before, Eminem saw someone from Team Galaxy, and under the instruction of Hayabu, he released a Darkrai. At that time, Eminem felt that the Darkrai not quite right. It feels a bit similar to how Darkrai of Belmode gave me, so I even look forward to seeing it again and verifying it. That guy from Team Galaxy not only released Darkrai in a strange way, not from the Pokeball, but as if it came out of himself, and after Darkrai came out, his other Pokémon all lost consciousness. Eminem also recalled later that when Belmode's Darkrai appeared, he didn't see Belmode herself, nor her other Pokémon. Eminem also saw this guy when he appeared as Sachi. Her other Pokémon are not weak even in a battle with a king level trainer. However, every time Darkrai appears, Belmode will not send out other Pokémon. Is it just because it is easier for Darkrai to retreat when fighting alone, or is it really the same method as that person from Team Galaxy more than 100 years ago? that is, related to Hayabu. This is also something Eminem wants to verify. Hayabu's older mortal has his eyes on Eminem, and Eminem is always thinking about destroying as many of his Horcruxes as possible. Otherwise he will have to guard against thieves every day. If there is a clue here in Bell mode, Eminem is not willing to give up, but to say that Bell mode situation is the same as that of the previous Galaxy team, actually it is not the same. Eminem remembers that dark ray at that time had a black mist-like body. A wisp of smoke was connected to his body point. However, Bell mode's dark ray always appears alone and does not have this characteristic. It was because of uncertainty that Eminem wanted to take another look. At this time, Bell mode was also acting in a full set. After the plane stabilized, he took out a medical book from his bag and studied it carefully. Those who didn't know really thought he was a doctor. After noticing that the book he was reading was a book on stroke, Eminem thought about it secretly and decided to take the initiative to start the topic. Is this the latest discussion of medical achievements in the Culus region? What is the current medical view on stroke? Naturally, Amu knew that the new book could not be an entry-level book, otherwise it would be too unprofessional. After Shind was stunned for a moment, he started talking to Amu normally. He neither blamed him for interrupting his reading, nor knew that Amu was an expert pharmacist. Instead, he took the topic as a matter of course and was polite, with just the right amount of doubt. If he hadn't known it in advance, Eminem would never have seen anything. Actually, I'm a pharmacist. In our pharmacist system, the treatment of stroke, Eminem discussed with a new doctor eloquently. Pharmacy has almost become part of Pokémon academics now, but before the Alliance era, the current pharmacist was also a physician. It's just that after the rise of modern medicine, it has a great advantage over pharmacy in terms of treating people. In addition, Pokémon academics have become more and more important. The theories that are slightly related to Pokémon academics have also become prominent. Therefore, today's Pokémon are paying more and more attention to Pokémon, and they have almost become Pokémon pharmacists. Even in the qualification examination, they don't even take the personal potion test. But it doesn't mean that Eminem doesn't understand this at all. After all, Eminem's teacher, Grandma Ike, is a typical old school pharmacist who has made great achievements in human medicine and even diagnosis and treatment. Although Eminem did not choose physician at sequence 8, but chose animal tamer without any doubt. Just being pharmacist at sequence 9 already gave Eminem some experience in human medicine. The qualifications are just not as professional as those of a pharmacist. Eminem could also feel that Grandma Leixi had some scruples when she first imparted the theoretical knowledge of human medicine to herself. After all, the current pharmacists all specialize in Pokémon pharmacy, and no one expects the pharmacist to cure diseases. And just specializing in Pokémon pharmacy can already make the pharmacist superior status. If it had been anyone else, they might have dabbled too much, leading to a lack of mastery. However, after discovering Eminem's qualifications in this area, Grandma Rexy taught Eminem her skills without any worries. Therefore, Eminem has a lot of fun chatting with the doctor now. Eminem was hesitant at first whether he would question Belmont and expose him as a fake doctor, causing him to take risks, but Eminem thought that if he stopped talking, Bell mode might notice something was wrong, and more importantly, Eminem then thought about it. I'm an expert pharmacist. You are new, and I'm just an ordinary doctor. Although everyone's main focus is different, it is not normal for me to chat with you in the area where everyone's professions meet. But, sure enough, the new releases could be picked up one after another at first, but gradually, he couldn't understand what Eminem said. It wasn't that he couldn't understand because of his different professional orientations, but that in the areas where the two overlapped, Eminem's theoretical knowledge also overwhelmed him. So Amu is an expert pharmacist? No wonder you are so powerful, and you are only 18 years old, right? When I was 18, I just went to medical school. Shind complimented with emotion. Of course, Eminem understood that this guy didn't just know his identity, but what Eminem didn't notice was that Yuanzi, who was half leaning against the window and pretending to be asleep, had secretly squinted his eyes and glanced at himself several times. Chapter 693, as expected, an accident occurred. On the plane, teacher Judy in the front row was really sweating while listening to Eminem's conversation with Cindy. She was worried that Belmont would jump into a panic after being exposed. After all, Judy has not only investigated Eminem's identity, but also confirmed Belmont's identity. Eminem and Zinchu chatted for only a few words. When the topic just got deeper, Judy couldn't help but turn her head and wanted to interrupt their conversation. Just as he turned his head, the dark green eyes in the last row stared back. Zui could still hold his nerve point. He has also understood for a long time that the biggest taboo in destroying Team Flare and the Dark Organization is not being able to remain calm. The scene where Judy turned her head slightly was naturally interpreted by Cindy as somewhat disturbed, so she and Eminem lowered their voices. Seeing this, Eminem also cooperated with him and moved closer. After that, the two of them almost whispered, blending in with the noise of the plane to ensure that they could not be heard in the front and rear rows. Of course, with Belmont's professionalism, Eminem couldn't smell anything feminine, even if he got closer. On the contrary, from the shampoo to the residual smell of laundry detergent, it is very masculine. Eminem estimates that it should be the same as a real shind, although the voices of the two people could no longer be heard without listening carefully in the front row. Judy was undoubtedly listening carefully with all her concentration point as the conversation between the two deepened. Judy gradually felt relieved. It was obvious that Belmont really had a medical background and was not showing off. Moreover, as an expert pharmacist, Eminem couldn't expect an ordinary doctor to have a pleasant discussion with him. If Eminem really wanted to study the integration of pharmacy and modern medicine, he would have to find those medical experts. But Yuanzi in the same row had already secretly glanced at Eminem several times. At first, he was a little nervous, then he was confused, and then he just rolled his eyes secretly. This guy insisted on being next to me, thinking he had something to whisper. Being sleepy and wanting to rest or something should just be an excuse. Now it seems that Eminem's sleepy statement was indeed a lie, but this guy's now having a great time chatting with the new doctor. At first, Yuanzi was still shy and fell asleep, but now Yuanzi heard that the occasional words between the two were undoubtedly the best lullaby, and he soon fell asleep. Xiaolan, who was in the back seat, was upset for Yuanzi. What are these two guys doing? Xiaolan originally thought that it was Eminem who suddenly had a sudden awakening, but why was he whispering to doctors and all the way? Conan, who was also in the back seat, noticed two other something wrong passengers, Eminem, Belmont, Judy, Shuchi. Because they had secret intentions, they didn't pay attention to the others, but Conan was the first to realize that something was wrong. But when he confirmed it thoroughly and saw the other party taking out the elf ball, it was already too late. Just when Zind was completely impressed by Eminem, he heard a loud bang coming from further forward, closer to the cab point. When a stewardess swiped her card to open the cab door, a passenger in the first row suddenly stood up and occupied the cab door. At the same time, two of his accomplices stood up from the seats on the left and right rows, the two people Eminem had noticed before. The two released two naughty thunder bombs, as well as two Heluga, a sniper trial and a throwing monkey. It stands to reason that everyone's Pokeballs would have been locked when they went through the security check, but they are all robbers, and if there was no way to avoid this step, they would not be taking the current actions. No one moves. No one is allowed to leave their seats. Then there was a burst of noise in the cockpit, but it eventually became quiet. Hijack. Eminem looked at this scene in surprise. I even suspected it was fake. He was even more critical in his heart. Belmont was just dealing with his own temptation. But what did Judy and Zui do for food? Where's the Pokémon investigator? That's it? That's it. At this time, Yuanzi also woke up from half asleep and asked in surprise, "What's wrong?" "It's okay. Hijack the plane," Eminem said without any worry. Not to mention that Eminem himself has Zodian who can fight, and he also didn't believe that Belmont, Judy, and Shuchi's Pokeballs were all locked up. Let's see who can resist it first. Like Yuanzi, there were many people who had just woken up and were surprised to make a sound, so she was inconspicuous. The robber also immediately shouted, "Shut up, everyone. Keep quiet." As he spoke, his trial sniper then flapped its wings and shot out an arrow. It hit the face of a woman in the last row who screamed and passed through her long hair. On the seat back point her scream stopped suddenly, and other conversations in the cabin also stopped. Eminem turned around and looked over, and found that the lady was right next to ZUI. The feather arrow was also not far from his face, but ZUI's expression did not move at all, neither afraid, nor pretending to be afraid to hide it. You don't move, raise your hands. Otherwise I will let the naughty thunder bomb send you all to the sky immediately. The robber suddenly pointed at a middle-aged man who looked a little bald and looked like an ordinary office worker. We are already in heaven, Eminem complained softly. In addition, although Eminem didn't know why that person was targeted, at least 4 people present, including Conan, recognized his identity from the beginning. Plainclothes flight attendant Junsha, a plainclothesman mingling among the ordinary passengers and ensuring safety in the air, naturally had his Pokeball unlocked, but I don't know whether he was discovered or had an inside job. But the plainclothes Junsha was picked out by the robbers immediately. Then another accomplice came and took away all 6 of his Pokeballs. His Pokeball was not locked, but this is high in the sky. He did not dare to fight head on with the robbers, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. If the plane crashed. If it was the world before Eminem traveled, then the robbers would still need the courage to die together, but now it is not needed. There must be some flying Pokémon among the robbers. Even if the plane crashes, the probability of the robbers surviving is not small, and plainclothes Junsha wants to ensure the safety of everyone. Although he also has 2 flying Pokémon, how can he save a plane full of people? I had to hand over my Pokeball first. Eminem also realized at this time, this must not have been arranged by the Pokémon investigator, otherwise the commotion would have been so big and there would be no way to end it afterwards. Everyone, hand over the elf balls, the robber said, holding a sack. It's not to grab the Pokémon. After all, if you take it away like this, the Pokeball will also become ineffective. The reason for doing this is because, although the Pokeballs of ordinary passengers are locked, there is no guarantee that there will be no accidents. After receiving Judy, Eminem found that she also handed over the elf ball. He didn't know whether it was true honesty or a cover-up. Chapter 694 Robbers. What are you doing, kid? At this moment, a robber was seen looking in the direction of Eminem, and then he shot an arrow towards Eminem, but Eminem was just like Shuchi just now. His face didn't move, because he also discovered that this was not shot at him. But I saw this arrow passing over Amu's head, and then nailed to the back of the chair above Conan's head. When Xiaolan saw this, she quickly protected Conan and said, wait. He is just a child. Eminem estimated that this child must have done something small just now, but was discovered by the robbers, and Conan also realized at this time, the 2 robbers were not only exposed, but also the one who entered the cab. Otherwise, they would not have been able to see their little moves. There must be other robbers' accomplices lurking in the back row. Considering this, hidden the accomplice here is to monitor everyone, and is probably in the last row. I'm sorry. Conan also pretended to be scared at this time point because of his childlike appearance. The robber was also deceived. He just snorted and took away Xiaolan's elf ball, including Shuchi who was behind him. He also honestly put all 6 Pokeballs in the sack. This amount made the kidnapper look at him a few more times. Coupled with Ziuai's stern expression, the kidnapper did not take the initiative to provoke him, or even intentionally did not look at him more, nor did he let Iluga get up and sniff him. Eminem estimates that Shuchi is doing this now more for the safety of the plane. Judging from the fact that he dares to show up in front of Belmont, he is not worried about his identity being exposed at all. And unlike other investigators, Ziuai already had a name with the Dark Organization. Unless there was some special opportunity, there was no possibility of hiding his identity again. Because of Conan, the order of searching for the Pokeballs has changed from back to front. Mew didn't resist at this time and threw in 3 Pokeballs. Later, Iluga also came forward to smell them. Except for professional trainers or those with special professional needs. Generally after the age of 25, they will no longer carry 6 Pokeballs. They can't keep up with the energy. Shuchi had honestly handed over 6 Pokeballs before, which also made the kidnappers acquiesce that he was a professional trainer, so there was no provocation. After all, they had their own purpose in kidnapping the passenger plane, not to blindly enmity point after training. Heluga can smell the elf ball or cone. Heluga just smelled it. Obviously, Zind has no other elf balls on his body. It may also be Bell. Mod made it not smell. At this time, the sack also approached Amu, and Amu threw 6 Pokeballs into it. However, Heluga still called out to him, but Amu glared at him instead. Point after the robbers confirmed that the Pokeballs handed over by Amu were all Pokeballs with Pokémon in them. They also stopped Heluga. After all, trainers can only carry 6 Pokeballs at most, so they should be empty Pokeballs on your body, right? No need to add extraneous details. Similarly, Sonoko also handed over 6 Pokeballs. Of course, given their age, the robbers did not regard them as professional trainers, but considered them just young. At this moment, the first person who was unwilling to hand over the Pokeball appeared, and his reason was upright. I have a flying Pokémon. I want to leave. The passenger said directly. The 2 robbers looked at each other, then asked the stewardess to open the cabin door and kicked him down. The other robber also hinted at a throwing monkey sneak attack, and the plainclothes juncher was also thrown away. Get down. The former didn't put up much resistance. After all, he did have a flying Pokémon, more than one. Moreover, he took the plane by himself and didn't know anyone else. In this case, of course he would not hand over the Pokémon. The robbers did not want to cause trouble, but simply told him to get out. Otherwise, if he resisted and destroyed the plane, the robbers would not be able to achieve their goals. By the way, let the plainclothes guy get out too. The first person who was kicked down also commanded the Pokémon and rescued him. Both of us have one too. Another couple of passengers saw this and shouted quickly. He was also cleared out. This also made others feel relieved. At least it proved that these robbers were not madmen and had not lost their minds. They should want to negotiate terms with the Alliance, right? In fact, many flight attendants also have flying Pokémon, but they can't leave just as they say. Otherwise their jobs will definitely be lost, and they will be blacklisted by the industry and even held accountable. After all, they are not ordinary passengers, but have job responsibilities. Soon everyone who was still in the cabin had their Pokeballs taken away. At the same time, Eminem is also thinking of a solution. Although the efficiency is a bit low, Eminem now fully activates the effect of Dragon Ancestor. If you can find a flying dragon, call one. It's a pity that it's really inefficient. After all, this is an altitude of 10,000 meters. Pokémon that can usually fly don't need to fly so high. The reason why we were able to find a few was thanks to Amu's Dragon Ancestor sensing distance, which is far enough, equivalent to now all the search distance is used in the downward direction, and there are not many treasures that can receive orders at all. Kemon, after looking around, I found only a flying dragon, a Kixie bluebird, and 2 desert dragonflies. Because we passed through the northern mountainous area instead of the ocean, we did not find the koalong, but we found the desert dragonfly. But the desert dragonfly couldn't fly so fast and was soon thrown off the plane. At the same time, the purpose of the robbers has also been revealed: to ask the Quartz Alliance to release their boss immediately. In fact, the arrest of their boss has something to do with Eminem. When Miwako and Nico were on the plane to Kaji City, the pharmacist Senzo they were escorting was a person involved in this organization. The reason why their boss was arrested was also drawn from the Senzo line. But now, let alone a robber, even Eminem himself didn't pay attention to it. You'd better hope that the Quartz Alliance won't leave so many of your lives alone. Haha, otherwise you will resent the Quartz Alliance. The robber threatened the passengers with a sneer. There were at least 3 robbers in the cabin, 2 in the dark, and 1 in the dark. Observing everyone at all times, Eminem didn't pay much attention to the robbers in the cabin at this time. This kind of thing that requires brains is not done by himself. It is easy for Zyashin to defeat them, but it is difficult not to destroy the plane. After all, the Tenaughty thunder bombs here. If you say it will explode, it will explode. And judging from the Linupa at the scene, it's not Eminem's turn to solve the problem. Eminem just tried his best to gather flying Pokémon to ensure that he could save as many people as possible when an accident occurred. If he only had Flash, once the plane crashed, Eminem could only ensure the safety of the people traveling with him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 695 Surprise Appearance. Robber A in the cabin sneered and said to the cockpit, "Tyrannosaurus? Haha, it should be sent by the Quartz Alliance to monitor. If there is only one, don't worry about it. If there are more, just throw a few away. See if they can be saved in time, Slim." Shady. Eminem estimated that it was the robbers in the cabin who spotted the Tyrannosaurus from the plane's radar. If it was a wild passerby, it would definitely not just keep flying. After all, for the Tyrannosaur, it has been following the passenger plane. The speed is also difficult. This also made Eminem realize that his idea of accumulating a large number of flying Pokémon to ensure the safety of airplane passengers may not be realized. After all, there are not many weak tensions in the sky that cannot be detected by radar, and the speed of airplanes is far beyond that of cruise ships, and weak Pokémon cannot keep up. But just when Eminem was about to give up, suddenly, hey, Eminem suddenly made a strange noise, almost moaning. The two robbers looked over at once. Under their gazes, Eminem arched his waist, scratched his head, and left the seat, and said calmly, "It's a little scratchy, robber. Don't make weird noises. I'll throw you away later." Robber A shouted angrily, "The first one to throw is good. The first one to throw is the Alliance's Tyrannosaurus. Help." Eminem muttered in a low voice. Robber, if you have a flying type Pokémon to rescue you, the survival rate after falling from a high altitude is extremely high, because in this world, the thickness of the atmosphere is a mystery. At least at an altitude of 10,000 meters, the air is not much thinner than on the ground. The strong airflow, when the cabin door is opened, is entirely caused by high-speed flight, not altitude. At the same time, the Suzuki Group, having learned of the situation, has put pressure on the Quartz Alliance to meet all the robbers' demands as soon as possible and prioritize the safety of passengers. As for what happened afterwards, the Suzuki Group will assist the Alliance to solve subsequent problems. The Quartz Alliance looks after the two major areas of Kanto and Johto. What you do needs to weigh the pros and cons. Although hijacking is bold, when it comes to investigating afterwards, the manpower and material resources that can be invested are limited. In contrast, if the Suzuki Group wants to retaliate, it can invest much more manpower and material resources than the Alliance. On the Quartz Plateau, Alliance officials were already on the phone, assuring the excited Tomoko that hostage safety must be the top priority. Tomoko would be even more excited than she is now if she didn't know that Eminem was there and that Eminem must be carrying a lightning bad on him. "Yeah, I got it. There are other calls." Tomoko took advantage of the sound and hung up the phone. But this reason was true. There was indeed a call coming in, and, after answering it, Tomoko felt more at ease. At this moment, Eminem was still in shock. Not long ago, the reason why Eminem moaned was because of the effect of Dragon Ancestor, and he discovered an incredible thing. Generally speaking, when faced with the effects of Dragon Ancestor and Sea God, activated by Amu, Pokémon below the king level will get whatever they ask for. Only Pokémon above the king level will refuse orders that threaten their own lives. And if it is a step further, roughly great king level strength, they will directly exit the range that Eminem can search. Just like a high-ranking official in a feudal territory, even if they dare not directly disobey the imperial decree, they can still find ways to hide. Only small officials and people are the ones who want the king to die, and the ministers have to die. However, Leixi has always emphasized that, whether the search range or the strength of the command is determined by Eminem's mental power, it is not the limit of his power. Just like if the imperial minister's ability is insufficient, he will be more easily taken advantage of. But now Eminem discovered a special situation, that is, there is something that completely ignores the effect of Dragon ancestor. Eminem's mental power was shaken violently when he first discovered the target. That's why he made the strange noise. Then Eminem discovered that this behemoth had no intention of leaving the range, but instead cast his gaze over with some doubts different from the targets perceived by Eminem under normal circumstances. This thing was difficult for Eminem to see in its entirety at first, and he could not immediately determine what it was until Eminem gradually felt that the long body, the strong dragon scales, the sharp fins, the flat dragon horns, and the 2 dragon claws, the dark green body that shone like gems, and the streaks on its body golden stripes glowing with energy fluctuations. Rayquaza, in front of the other party. Eminem used his weak mental power, like a blind man, to gradually find out the other party's identity, the dragon of the sky, the unconquerable original overlord of the sky. The god of the atmosphere, the guardian of the near-earth universe, the head of the 3 ancestral beasts, the god who blocks the most Wi-Fi signals. People have a lot of knowledge about it, but for the mythical beast at this level, human beings' understanding of it is entirely their own business, and does not represent it itself. Generally speaking, in people's understanding, Rayquaza, like Zygarde, is basically one of the most important mythical beasts in the first tier below Arceus. Generally speaking, the sky pillar, where Rayquaza is located, does not really refer to a pillar, but an honorific name for its location point. In fact, Rayquaza's home base range is very large. It may be anywhere in the sky, and it is not fixed. However, there is also a saying that when Rayquaza enters the altitude of the near-Earth universe, the entire planet is within its range of activities. However, when he is within the planet, that is, at an altitude of less than 100,000 meters, he is usually in the hemisphere, where Chyanguan continent is located. Eminem didn't expect that with his search range, he would actually come across this mythical beast with the largest range of movement in its lair. Although Rayquaza's body is not as big as the old card, it is still much larger than the value in the game. Eminem has long understood that except for those cute ones, the size of the mythical beasts in this world is generally larger than that in the game. The value should be large, reaching or even exceeding the size of the theatrical animation. However, the reason why it is difficult to identify is not only because of its large size, but mainly because Rayquaza is a large target under the detection of mental power. Eminem can only identify it bit by bit. Otherwise, even if it is the roaring whale king, Eminem can also identify it instantly. This is also a bit embarrassing, equivalent to Eminem going up and blind man touching the elephant for a while, and it took him a long time to recognize. Old card. Do you know Rayquaza? Eminem was also very nervous at this time. He had no hope of orders, as long as Leoka didn't say he had a grudge. Not familiar. Leoka's answer made Eminem feel a little more at ease. Chapter 696. Conan can't keep calm. Hearing that Leoka was not familiar with Rayquaza, Eminem breathed a sigh of relief. He also has no intention of asking Rayquaza for help. After all, Rayquaza doesn't have a very good reputation. This world is very advanced in terms of it, but the reason why wireless signals are so blocked is probably due to Rayquaza. The most direct thing is that without the permission of Rayquaza, humans cannot launch new artificial satellites. This makes the number of artificial satellites only a handful, far less than the world before Eminem traveled. With new technologies in satellites, it is impossible to launch new satellites to update immediately. What is worse is that it also makes the academic field of artificial satellites become the last stream that is not taken seriously, and natural satellite signals become precious. This has resulted in a situation where there is no signal everywhere now. Even wireless signals transmitted directly without relaying through satellites have a limited range in this world. Half of this is because the directly transmitted signals will interfere with the lives of some Pokémon and make them manically destroy signal towers. The other half is because it can be considered that the reason why air as a medium has low transmission efficiency and is easy to be interfered. And Rayquaza is also the god of atmosphere. For a real god owner like Rayquaza, the corresponding natural rules are also part of its power. Of course, Eminem doesn't want to condemn it now. He just wants to stay away. Rayquaza is obviously much more powerful than the 3 holy birds, and even their boss Lugia is a head shorter than Rayquaza. After all, before Rayquaza awakened, Lugia was the god of ocean currents and monsoons. In addition to the sea, he also had some authority over the sky. However, after Rayquaza awakened more than 100 years ago, Lugia is simply the god of the sea. Therefore, Eminem has no intention of having any more contact with Rayquaza. I even want to remind the robbers, can you change the direction? Why are you flying closer and closer? Fortunately, it didn't fly directly towards the pillar of the sky, it just passed by. As for the radar, Pokémon that are too weak cannot be detected by radar, nor can those that are too strong. Why are you shaking? The robber came over and scolded Amu, who was shaking his legs. You still flying along the original route? How about heading south to give the Alliance a surprise? Amu suggested sincerely. Shut up. Don't talk. The robber rejected Eminem's kindness. Eminem shaking his legs is not afraid, but mainly out of anxiety. It seems that he will continue to be anxious. Not only is he getting closer and closer to Rayquaza, but also, Eminem can always feel Rayquaza look. If Leoka can come out, maybe he won't be too afraid of Rayquaza. Eminem is not sure either. However, Eminem is very sure that if the old card cannot come out and just rely on the dragon scale light wall, it will definitely not have any effect in front of Rayquaza. Old cap, what does it always look at me for? Eminem couldn't help but ask. That's, look at me. Leoka responded. Eminem was stunned when he heard this, and then realized that Rayquaza followed his connection with Leoka and discovered it. It was probably they were talking. Then don't quarrel with others, it's best to be polite. Eminem warned. Leoka. At this moment, Eminem's ankle was suddenly slightly scratched. When he looked down, he saw a paper bowl rolling from behind. Obviously Conan was not honest. Eminem directly leaned over to pick it up and secretly complained in his heart, Conan is still too young. Look at the Dark Organization and Pokémon investigators. At this time, no one was in a hurry, and he started to act vigorously. What are you doing? The robber acted immediately. The shoe shook off. Eminem said calmly, you have a lot to do. Come out. Change seats with him. The robber said, pointing to the new exit. It was on the outside and could easily be seen. Eminem stuffed the paper ball into his pocket and stood up to change places with Zin. Wait, what's in your pocket? The robber said suddenly. Eminem also realized at this time that there should be a hidden monitor, otherwise his actions would not be seen from this angle. The sniper triowl on the side also immediately aimed at Eminem. On the side, Yuan-Z couldn't help but said nervously, and then immediately covered his mouth. Take it out. The robber said nervously, while letting Heluga come closer. This guy is obviously very guilty. Don't be nervous, it's nothing, Eminem said, taking out a small ball of paper. Based on his understanding of Conan, he probably wouldn't write anything important directly. After passing it to Helugia's mouth, the robber breathed a sigh of relief, then took it from Helugia's mouth, opened the ball of paper, and found that it was in a children's style, with a man handing over a bottle to a woman with short hair. What is this? The robber looked at Conan in the back row. It was obviously not drawn by the little girl who had been scared. Draw. Conan immediately made Shota afraid. JPG. Of course the robber couldn't understand it, but after taking a rough look at the back of the paper from a distance, Eminem understood what Conan meant. The one with short hair should be Miwako, and Conan was hinting at what he had given to Miwako before. That's what happened when Eminem handed Miwako the explosion suppressing potion, when she happened to meet Miwako on a plane last time and a suspected bomb appeared. Now it should be a hint to Eminem to always be ready to use explosion suppressing potion. No. Where did you get the paper and pen? The robber also felt that something was wrong at this time. The little boy was too brave. I come out. I think it's time for you two to get out. The robber said immediately. Wait. Xylan stood up immediately when she saw this. After all, it was still dangerous. Seeing that this guy was going to attack Conan, Xylan couldn't remain silent. That's enough. You also have your own goals, right? He's just a child. Shin seemed to have a sense of justice at this time. When Xylan just spoke, he immediately spoke and stood up to block Xylan from behind, and Conan. Eminem saw this. It is estimated that he is mostly pretending, trying to dispel Shuchi's suspicion, and a small part of it is because Ran and Conan have different meanings to him. Okay, someone really pretends to be a hero, right? Robber A laughed ferociously, then raised his hand, as if ready to give a Pokémon an order. Eminem is also ready to release his small flash to see if he can stun all the passengers instantly. It doesn't matter if he accidentally injures some passengers, it's better than a plane crash. But at this time, Robber C in the cockpit shouted to the outside, "Second brother, the Quartz Alliance contacted us, and the boss has been released." Chapter 697 Lord Longzhu. Robber A heard that the Alliance had released him, and he hesitated. Although the Alliance had not told them, they would believe it, and the boss would have to contact them later to confirm. But the goal was almost achieved, and it seemed uneconomical to have extraneous matters at this time. Seeing this, Robber B took the initiative to step out of the steps and said, "Huh, you are lucky little girl, then take care of your brother. Now you all sit on the outside. You put your brother on your lap. You sit down, get on his lap. Let me see you at any time." In the second half of the sentence, he pointed at Eminem, then at Zinchu. When Eminem heard this, he pointed at himself in surprise, and then at Zind. Well, because Eminem still had room to grow, he didn't seem to be as big as Zind. Indeed, he was sitting on Zind's lap. More reasonable point at this time. The robber did not need them to change seats, and directly arranged to sit together. How about I go there? Sitting on the boy's lap, it feels gay. Eminem pointed to the position of plainclothes Junsha, which was also on the outside. Stop talking nonsense. You guys will supervise each other, and if I notice any little tricks, we can go down together. Robber A rejected Eminem's suggestion, then glared at Conan and said, "Including you and your sister, Slim Shady." Eminem decided to struggle again. "Look, I'm sitting on his lap. Isn't it easier for him to make small movements with his hands behind me? Then put your hands in front of your body," Robber A said angrily. "So gay." Eminem sat down reluctantly while making amends for himself. After all, this action is a bit dangerous for Eminem. If he suddenly releases Darkrai, Eminem won't even have time to react. However, Eminem couldn't be too alarmed, which made Burmad suspect that he saw through me, so he went back and made up for it, saying that he didn't like to hang out with men. After Eminem sat down, Zind also put his hands in front of Eminem. Seeing this, the robber emphasized, "Remember, supervise each other. Everyone is included. Let me find out who has with this small move. Everyone in the row will get out of here." At this time, there seemed to be unstable airflow passing by, and the plane bumped a little, which shocked the passengers. Eminem also leaned back, completely secure. Slim Shady. It has to be said that Sister Ben's disguise is very thorough. Eminem feels that this is a man's chest, nothing unusual. This also made Eminem breathe a sigh of relief. If it was soft, then Eminem would have to think about how to pretend that he didn't feel anything strange. Yuanzi had been looking at Eminem at this time, and seeing his reaction now, his expression was weird. After hearing that the Quartz Alliance had cooperated, Eminem was not prepared to step forward. Anyway, these robbers will definitely retreat later. As soon as they leave the plane, Eminem will immediately release Zyodian to chase them. Then there will be no need to worry about accidentally injuring anyone, and no one of these guys can escape. It seems that this group of people have registered with the Quartz Alliance a long time ago, and there should be no problem of silencing them. In this world, there should be no one who dares to make up his mind to kill a passenger in order to silence them. The murderer, if so, it would be almost on the same level as Jin. Eminem turned his head to the side and found that Conan also looked dissatisfied and angry at this time, and he suddenly became angry. You're sitting on Sister Zyallen's lap anyway. Why don't you get an advantage and still behave well? Okay, what are you doing back here? Robber A became a little anxious for the first time. He felt that it was not easy to be a teacher, as it's so difficult to be a robber and make the hostages obey and not move. Robber A's remaining conscience made him apologize to the teachers in elementary school and junior high school. In his heart, high school never went to high school. How about I switch with him? What if the two siblings conspire? Eminem suggested decisively. Hey, you have a beautiful idea. Yuanzi on the side gave him two big eyes. Conan also stared at him with dead eyes. Zyallen knew he was joking, so she just smiled. Robber A, it's a hijacking. Be serious. The robber was also angry. Why are you still flirting on this day? Second brother, that Tyrannosaurus is not following Robert C's voice came from the cockpit. Huh. I'm probably tired. Robert E frowned upon hearing this, and then seemed to think of something. He smiled sinisterly at Amu and warned, haha, I'll be the first to throw you away later. Let's see if you're still the first to go down the best this time. Slim Shady. But Eminem knew that the wild flying dragon was not tired from flying, but because it was already close to the pillar of the sky, so it didn't dare to follow the effect of dragon ancestor. It's, to put it bluntly, Leoka's order point. If this order would offend Rayquaza, obviously the dragon clan being ordered would hesitate. Eminem also doubted whether Rayquaza would have similar abilities. Leoka's god of the sea does not conflict with Rayquaza, but as for dragon ancestor, Eminem was a little confused. If Rayquaza said that he was dragon ancestor, how should Eminem persuade Leoka to forget it? Ambition? Let's wait until the old card comes out normally, or Eminem reaches a high level before considering it. Leoka, you must be careful. If this guy makes a sneak attack, remember to protect me as soon as possible. Eminem had thousands of reminders and instructions in his consciousness. The current seat makes Eminem very insecure. Old card. At this time, a strange consciousness came over. Eminem was caught off guard for a moment. It felt like he was communicating with Leoka for the first time, and he was severely shocked. Immediately I realized that this was crossing the wires. It seems that Rayquaza was supposed to be communicating with Leoka, and Eminem was equivalent to coming over to interrupt when they were having a good chat. Rayquaza, who was communicating with Leoka, also heard it. It felt like two adults were having a serious conversation, and a child came over and said, if a bug bites me later, you must remember to help me move it away, Lord God of the Sky. Eminem called tentatively. Haha, do humans call me this now? Rayquaza's consciousness is more coherent than Leoka's. At the same time, Eminem also feels that the consciousness of Rayquaza is less emotional than that of Leoka, and of course he is more afraid to mention the god of signal blocking. Amu felt guilty, thinking it was dissatisfied, so he adjusted his emotions and said, then, Lord Langzhu? Well, if Rayquaza can come out and dance, then that person is the dragon ancestor. Leoka, don't be dissatisfied. Rayquaza, Kaoparis. Chapter 698. There's someone above. Eminem's move of directly recognizing Ryuzu made Rayquaza unable to deal with it. Of course, it makes sense for Eminem to think that Rayquaza is the dragon ancestor. According to the legend of Chyanguan continent, Arceus made the world from scratch. Then Rayquaza created the sky, Kyogre created the sea, and Groudon created the earth, the sky and the earth. The order of appearance of the ocean, even before space and time. Although the legend is just a legend and there is no proof, it still shows that the three ancestral beasts are symbols of ancient even among mythical beasts. Among them, Rayquaza is a dragon, so what's wrong with saying here's a dragon ancestor? As for the old card, until now, Eminem has not answered when was it born, but at this time, Rayquaza, after being silent for a long time, still said, dragon ancestor. In front of his excellency Kaoparis, I will no longer call you the ancestor of the clan. You are humble. Eminem held it, and talked. Kaoparis. For a moment, Leoka also felt a little nostalgic. On the one hand, he missed the long gone time, and on the other hand, he missed Eminem. The last time he held me in his arms and talked about it was a long time ago. At the same time, Eminem also had some concerns in his mind and thought to himself, it seems that the legend is a legend. According to the meaning of Rayquaza, although it and Leoka are not intimidated by each other, Leoka's lifespan should be longer than that of Rayquaza. Is empty sitting more ancient, so this creating the sky, the earth and the ocean is probably not accurate, at least according to this meaning. Leoka should be older than it. Of course, it is useless to ask Leoka these questions. Eminem can imagine the purring sound he will hear if he asks him about it later. Young dragon ancestor envoy, as a meeting gift, let me give you a gift. Rayquaza guided him politely. At this time the level of politeness even made Eminem feel a little flattered. After all, Rayquaza is a representative of the violent mythical beast that is difficult to deal with. The number of satellites in the sky and the limited signals everywhere can prove. Why is this so embarrassing? Eminem is a deep person and will not accept it like this. Why are you laughing? Yuanzi looked at Eminem grinning from the side and couldn't help but wonder, why did you look so disgusted just now, but now you are enjoying it? Ahem. I remembered something interesting. Eminem took the time to communicate with Yuanzi again and sat upright as he spoke. Then, can you be awkward? Shind couldn't help but remind him point Belmont was almost confused as to whether this guy had seen something. Well, after all, this is a gift from Rayquaza. Is it normal for humans to move around when they are excited? Is this a human politeness? Haha, what a strange creature. Obviously not feeling embarrassed at all. Rayquaza said very straightforwardly point Slim Shady. It's really hard to deal with. At this time, Leoka reminded him with his intermittent will, the rules of the Dragon Clan. If you ask for a gift, you want. If you are greedy, the conditions will be invalid. Lord Ancestor Long, what do you think I should ask for? Eminem decisively asked Leoka to help him make up his mind. Point Leoka, blessings are useless. Although Leoka was speechless, he still reminded him. Point Eminem also immediately understood what Leoka meant. Blessings from mythical beasts and the like, which are not cost effective. Point in fact, this is exactly what Eminem wanted before. At this time, Eminem had no time to ask in detail. After all, he couldn't let Rayquaza wait any longer. Otherwise, ask for a satellite quota? At that time, any alliance will ask for it at a high price, right? But thinking about what Leoka said before, Eminem simply gritted his teeth and said, then please help me rescue this plane. This kind of thing is just a matter of fact, and in fact, I no longer need to take action. After Rayquaza paused, he seemed to have received some reminder, so he said, okay, I'll give you a pair of these. If you want to train the biting land shark in the future, you should be able to use it when the consciousness is transmitted to the back. It already feels like it is gradually moving away. Point Eminem didn't understand what it no longer needs to take action meant, let alone what it gave. It sounds like some kind of material that can be used when cultivating dragons, especially when cultivating bite land shark. But why just leave? Where's the stuff? It just wanted to beat you. Leoka said regretfully at this time. Point Slim Shady? Where does your regret come from? Immediately, Eminem realized, if I really made a request just now, would that guy take the opportunity to beat me? It's just that Eminem didn't ask for anything, but it left it speechless, etc. Then why didn't you remind me just now? Eminem finally reacted. Point Hello, okay, then what does it mean when it says it doesn't need to take action anymore? After Eminem rolled his eyes secretly, he turned to Leoka and asked Point Langzhu. Leoka's words are concise and comprehensive. Okay, you are the dragon ancestor. You are the dragon ancestor. Eminem thought it was still struggling with this matter. Leoka, long ancestor's ability. Only then did Eminem react, reminding himself of the ability to activate Dragon Ancestor. Eminem activated it again, and this time he immediately made a discovery. There was a hidden dragon on the top of the plane, and it was very strong. Become a hidden dragon, it must be, because it is too strong. So its color changing property not only deceives vision, but also avoids the Pokémon radar that comes with the plane. Point at the same time, following the hidden transformation dragon, Eminem also discovered that there was another person next to it, and a super powerful Metrograss, although Eminem couldn't see who it was directly. He just vaguely sensed it following the transformation of the hidden dragon. But there should be only a handful of such a powerful Metrograss in the world, and next to him was a young man. And will appear here. The identity of the other party is already revealed. Doru, from the original Pokémon, the next Hone champion. Based on Eminem's understanding of this world, among the young trainers around the world, he can be counted on one hand. Even if he were unconditionally placed among the trainers around the world, he could be counted on both hands and feet. And in this world, he is still the eldest son of the Suzuki group, that is, Sonoko's eldest brother. It is now widely rumored that McCree wants Daigo to take over as the league champion of the Hone region, and it has basically been approved within the Hone League. At this time, Eminem thought of the turbulence just now. It seemed that it was not a problem with the airflow, but that Doru landed on the top of the plane. Eminem then looked at the two robbers. What a sin. I just took a chance, but I actually met two Pokémon investigators, a dangerous member of the Dark Organization, and a passing Parsi champion. Chapter 699 Raid. Eminem found out that there was someone above him, especially after discovering the identity of the person. He immediately became convinced Doru must have just arrived. After all, Eminem had activated Dragon Ancestor before, and there was no hidden dragon on the plane at that time. It should have fallen on the plane during that bumpy time point. Eminem can imagine that after hearing the news, Dago rode a Metrograss that was in a state of electromagnetic levitation and moved at high speeds with his thoughts, and at the same time, used the hidden dragon as a cover to find and catch up with the passenger plane. As for why Daewoo happens to be nearby, Eminem thinks this is not a problem. After all, the Chinese New Year is coming soon, and Daewoo should also be going home. It is normal to return to Kanto from Fenon and pass through the Johto area point, and with the speed of Metrograss, you don't have to be in a nearby city. As long as you are in the Johto area, you will have enough time to rush over after hearing the news that Sunoko's plane has been hijacked. After guessing the other party's identity, Eminem began to tentatively communicate with the hidden dragon above, mainly wanting to communicate with its trainer. Generally speaking, it is not easy to communicate with the other party's trainer through Pokémon. At least the other party's trainer must also have the ability to communicate with the Pokémon's consciousness. Among ordinary trainers, this is a very rare ability point, but for trainers of Dago's level, Eminem thinks most of them have this ability. Sure enough, as soon as Eminem communicated with the hidden transformation dragon, he was immediately discovered by Daewoo. Although it is not Dago's main force, with the level of bondage of transforming the hidden dragon, Amu estimates that even if he uses Dragon Ancestor to force orders, as long as Dago is willing, this transforming hidden dragon can still abide by the direct attack on Amu. Any other command point in terms of strength, this is not the main hidden dragon, and it is far inferior to the dragon Boruto controlled by Hayabu with Parcel Tongue. But in terms of resistance to Dragon Ancestor, it is the far more effective point. Even when Eminem just used the ability of Dragon Ancestor to come into contact with the hidden transformation dragon, the transformation hidden dragon immediately notified the trainer, and Dago's consciousness also connected with him on alert. Is it Mr. Dago? Eminem immediately relaxed his mood. Are you Eminem? Daewoo obviously also knows Eminem, but Eminem doesn't know whether he heard it mentioned by Sunoko or Aunt Tomoko. It's more likely that he heard it both. It's me. I'm worthy of being Mr. Daewoo. No time to be polite. Can your lightning bird come out? Eminem wanted to say a few words, but was interrupted by Daewoo. Can. Eminem also responded immediately and added, however, it is difficult for the little lightning bad to save too many people in the case of a plane crash. Daewoo heard Eminem's worry and lucky heart, so he replied, it won't be long before these robbers will find something is wrong. The Quartz Alliance has sent news that the guy who was just released, shortly after getting rid of Junsha's tracking, he was silenced. What? Eminem was shocked. You want to go to the toilet? Shind felt that this guy was very dishonest. It would be fine if he was hijacking the plane, but just throw it away now. Ahem. It's nothing. Eminem said awkwardly. Quiet. What a coincidence. Is that what they did? On the one hand, Eminem is annoyed by these people, but on the other hand, he is also suspicious that they have actually achieved their goal. No, he was silenced in Yuansu City. It is suspected to be related to the local juncture. Daewoo did not agree with Amu's statement. And when Eminem heard it was Yuansu City, he immediately lost his temper. What quartz Gotham is this? Yumi doesn't have to spend this year. Originally, Daewoo was worried that Eminem didn't know about Yuansu's situation and couldn't understand why he said that, but at this moment, Eminem sighed with emotion. So that's it. It's Yuansu City again. In this case, Amu guesses that this criminal gang is also involved with the local juncture. People within the gang want to hijack planes to save people, but the unknown team in the local juncture do not want certain people to speak again. As a result, their boss hasn't contacted him for a long time, and he will soon find out that something is wrong. No wonder Dawn wants to take action. This Yuansu City. I plan to go find Mr. Do afterwards to find out what is going on with the Yuansu Police Department. Dawn was also annoyed when he mentioned this. No. Yumi has just taken office. What does it have to do with her? She works very hard. Eminem immediately said a few words for his good friend Dago. Originally, I heard that the police chief of Yuansu City was still a little girl. Dago was quite angry and couldn't understand Mr. Do's actions. Now, he is even more angry, but Dago also knew that this was not the time to talk about such things. After taking a deep breath, he discussed it with Eminem. Have you not contacted the boss yet? Robber A impatiently urged the people in the cockpit. Not yet. The other passengers also became nervous again after hearing the robber's conversation. Why don't you give him a shot? Eminem answered from the side point. Robbers A and B both glared angrily at this moment. Can't you shut your mouth, you kid? Robber A was about to show him some color, but at this moment, Eminem suddenly exerted force and bounced directly on Zinchu's body. At the same time, he reached out to support the small suitcase on the seat. Suddenly a ball of flame spread along Eminem's palm and on the suitcase. What are you doing? Stop. Otherwise I. While the robber was shocked, he was also at a loss for words. The hostages took the initiative to set fire to destroy the plane. As a robber, what should you do at this time? Of course, it was definitely right to stop Eminem from continuing to act. Luger immediately pounced on Eminem and bit him. Sniper Trial and Throwing Monkey also shot feather arrows at Eminem and Nuts. However, in front of Eminem, they were blocked by the invisible dragon scale wall of light. At this time, there was only a crackling sound of breaking glass bottles. It was Eminem who broke the container of the explosion suppressing agent in his luggage and released the liquid inside. This liquid vaporizes when exposed to fire, instantly forming a humid environment in the cabin. At the same time, the plane trembled violently, and a hole was directly opened in the ceiling, and a giant Metagross rushed in. Not far from the Tenaughty thunder bombs, the silver giant Metagross waved its huge arm and fired 2 bullet punches, quickly, one punch at a time, directly knocking out the Tenaughty thunder bombs with a muffled sound. And both of them fainted. Chapter 700. You have to thank me. If it were on the ground, 100 more of these robbers wouldn't be enough for me to fight with one hand. But now we are on a plane, and there are so many ordinary passengers, so Dago can't help but feel helpless. Although Metagross's superpower, it does not know hypnosis. As a result, the Tenaughty thunder bombs will be difficult to deal with. After all, not only will this thing self-destruct on its own initiative, but its characteristics may also be such that it self-destructs when it faints during a battle. But with Eminem colluding with him, it would be easy. Amu first smashed and smoked the explosion suppressing agent, which instantly created a moisture environment, which inhibited the effects of self-explosion. Then Dago immediately forced his way in, punching a small ball. Listening to the muffled sound, you can tell that they are indeed detonating, but the power of the explosion is suppressed by moisture. What? The robber has not yet reacted. I saw the silver giant Metagross swinging its other 2 arms, swinging its huge metal claws over, grabbing the heads of the 2 robbers, and lifting them up. Suddenly, 2 screams came. I don't know if it's pinching, or if the Metagross is still attacking their spirits at the same time. As a rare non-dragon quasi-divine beast, Metagross can be said to be a Pokémon born for fighting. It has 2 types of steel plus super. The former makes its body like steel, while the latter makes its spirit extremely tough. And from appearance to personality, there is no cute element, a symbol of ultimate reason and cold-bloodedness, so it is also the least subdued among quasi-mythical beasts. But Doru's trump card is the Magromgrom, an eye-catching heterochromatic Metagross. Seeing the robbers being held hostage, the 2 Luger, Sniper Trial, and Throwing Monkey were all stunned on the spot. The next moment, the giant metal monster turned around smoothly and glanced at the cockpit with flashing red eyes. Not only was the door knocked open by the impact caused by mental power, but the robber inside was also instantly pressed against the glass by mental power. If you look carefully in front of him, you will find that his whole body is being pressed, including his chest and lungs, which are gradually sunk in. Not only can he not move, but he will soon faint from lack of oxygen. At this time, Dawn also jumped in and immediately released a psychic clay puppet. Its big head just blocked the hole in the ceiling. Although the atmosphere in this world is not significantly thinner at such a height, the air pressure difference will occur during high-speed movement. Psychic Doll is a suspected ancient man-made Pokémon. The individual sizes vary greatly, and the head is larger than the body. In addition, Dago is also relatively large. Now that this is blocked, the airflow in the cabin immediately becomes stable. Come down point at the same time, there was a circle of red eyes on its big head. At this time, it was scanning the entire scene without emotion. Eminem had just reminded Doru that there were hidden robbers among the passengers. At this time, the Nyanli doll is also monitoring everyone. The two Heluga, Sniper Tree Owl, and Throwing Monkey were knocked unconscious by the psychic doll using Phantom Light. After a moment of confusion, Heluga had Evil Element S. Natural attribute, but in the face of the great heaven leaking level psychic earth doll, it is not immune to damage at all. Brother? Yuanzi said in surprise. She felt familiar from the moment the silver Magrombus appeared. Doru? It's Doru. Ah. So handsome. This is the championship level Metagross. The other passengers also reacted at this time, and they were just as heartless as the passengers during the Santanu incident. The passengers who almost sank into the sea were also so enthusiastic about watching the little Zapdos afterwards. Eminem also saw Dago directly for the first time at this time. He didn't look much older than himself. It was only 4 years ago that he participated in the Kanto rookie competition. The facial features are just the same, the height are the same, but the hair color is very eye-catching, with a white and bluish look, which is completely different from the chestnut colors of the Sonoko and Ayako sisters in terms of the Pokémon attributes that he is good at. Firstly, the ancestral ground, rock, steel, which is also the mineral type. And secondly, he himself is also very talented in the superpower type. Everyone, don't leave your seats. There are still robbers on the plane, but the plane has been controlled and will be arranged to land immediately. Don't worry. As soon as Dawn opened his mouth, he was slapped in the face point after hearing a sound from behind the plane. The whole plane trembled violently. It was no longer described as a bump. Eminem even faintly heard the sound of some parts being pulled off from the back. Fortunately, all the passengers were wearing seatbelts. Even Dawn staggered while standing on the floor, and Eminem also swayed forward. Why was it a swing? Because when he jumped up and burned the small suitcase before, Eminem grabbed it, and now he is hanging on the suitcase. It was only because of Eminem's firm grip that he was not thrown off. There was another person who was not wearing a seatbelt. When Eminem jumped up, he broke the seatbelt, so Zindi naturally did not have a seatbelt. At this time, even the well-trained Belmode couldn't hold on, and slammed his face on Eminem's butt. Hey. Eminem couldn't help but cry out in pain. You can hit your butt with your face so much that it hurts. Eminem felt that she should really thank herself. If she had hit the back of the chair, her fake face would have fallen off by now, and her real face might have become crooked. But now Eminem had no time to accept his thanks, but immediately shouted, "Noah." The next moment, a dispute broke out between the two pilots. The co-pilot seemed to want to operate the panel, while the captain wanted to subdue him, although he smashed the control panel a few times when he was dragged away, because Noah had already sneaked into the system and blocked manual operations. He couldn't do anything more. Only now the plane has continued to be turbulent, and everyone even feels weightless. Suddenly there were screams. What's going on? Dago asked the captain, while letting the psychic doll use his mental power to knock out the co-pilot. He just suddenly opened the deceleration chute manually. Now the deceleration chute has been pulled off, but the tail wing is also damaged. The captain quickly tried to operate the panel, but found that it could not be operated. Because of the violent turbulence, there was chaos on the plane. My polygon is under control. Don't worry about it. I can't trust you in the operation. Eminem shouted directly to the cockpit at this time, but the captain broke into a cold sweat amidst the turbulence and weightlessness, handing it over to Porygon. Is this reliable? Eminem feels very reliable, because Noah is not an ordinary Polygon. He has learned the corresponding knowledge, and is definitely more reliable than an experienced captain in handling this kind of thing. At this time, Daewoo also acquiesced to Eminem's words, and said to the captain, "You can remind it of the important points. Metagross." With that said, Daewoo called out Megrum, and at this moment Metagross shook the unconscious kidnapper away, then clasped its foreclaws upside down, and slammed it on the roof of the shed. The next moment, overlapping electric lights flashed around the outer wall of the plane. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.